I watched so much small conference basketball. I just was flipping from game to game to game to game.
That A-Sun final looked like it was pretty good.
Kid at 49 in defeat. There were 400 people in the gym. They listed 2,000. There were
That's a
400
joke.
people there.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I saw the highlights or some of them. You know, when they cut into it and showed them making
embarrassment.
And it would have been sold out at either one of those gyms.
It would have been at Central Arkansas where the kid scored 49. Yeah.
And they might win. I mean, that's just
player of the year in the conference. Scored their last 20 points of regulation, I think it was, to force overtime because they were down 7 with like 53 seconds to go.
I did see East Tennessee State was down big and they were like a 2 seed and came back and won. That must be their final, must be tonight.
It is. Morning, everybody. By the way, our system went like 4-1 Saturday.
I know. 10 seconds. If that.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you on this Monday. How was your weekend? Hope it was terrific. Let's have a good week. Let's get it started properly. How the heck are you, Miller and Moulton? MillerandMoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. One of my favorite weekends of the year has just come and gone. Loved it. Was riveted to it. Small conference tournament basketball, one bid leagues. Love everything about it. Don't know.
And it delivered for you, David. Bunch of good games, some overtime games, buzzer beaters. I mean, it gave you everything that you wanted.
Big upsets, 1 seeds getting taken out by 8 and 9s, 25-26 win regular season teams going down. Okay, the heartbreak that can be March. It was a remarkable college basketball weekend. First off, the Miami of Ohio game Friday night might have been the game of the year. My goodness.
Well, it was really good. Game of the year in the MAC. Oh, it was really good.
Well, I'm not saying it was the highest level basketball, but 110, 108 in overtime. It's a pretty good night at the office.
It is. It is, no doubt.
Where are you going to go in Athens, Ohio and have 2.5 hours of better entertainment than that?
Now, when you frame it that way, David, it may have been the night of the decade. Only if Ohio would have won. Athens, Ohio, for those of you that don't know, is the home of Ohio University. They were on the losing end to Miami of Ohio, who hadn't won there in 4 years?
14 years.
14. Excuse me. I had the 4 right. Missed the 10.
Actually, hadn't won in 15 years. They had lost 14 straight games there. And were trying to complete the 31-0 regular season and did. And a very dramatic, fun game. And then all hell broke loose over the weekend. And did you see Saturday? there were like 12 teams that were considered like last four in, first four out, next four out. Of those 12, 9 of them played on Saturday. Did you see how many of them won?
What was it? One of them or none of them? I mean, it was awful. They had a rough day.
It was 0.
Okay.
The bubble, which was already bad, awful. Yeah.
And I will give credit to Coach K and a bunch of others that used their voices to say, do not expand this tournament.
Please.
Now, I don't know if that will help, David, because Greg Sankey wants it, and there's not much that he wants that he doesn't get.
Yeah.
But I give a lot of the college basketball voices credit after a Saturday in which the bubble was burst for so many teams to say, do we really need to expand this? And the answer is no.
Right. When you're saying the last team in is 16 and 15 Auburn, enough already. Please. Please. So,
and then the people making their case for Auburn, despite that, is ridiculous to me.
Well, they won at Florida. They've got, a couple of good wins. They've got a bunch of bad losses. They've lost 8 of 10 to finish the season.
I know, but, and look at Florida now may be a 1 seed. I think they are after going to Kentucky and continuing on what they've been doing, and UConn losing a game against an inferior opponent at home. So Florida appears to be the 4th 1 seed right now, and deserving so.
Mm-hmm.
But don't tell me Auburn's win at Florida is the most impressive win of the year. I'll take Wisconsin in Ann Arbor.
By the way, I don't want to play Wisconsin in the tournament. Honestly, when the brackets come out, please not have Wisconsin on my side. They've gone to Purdue and won. They went to Michigan and won. They've beaten like 4 top 10 teams this year, 3 of them on the road. Man, it's really simple. They hit their threes. They can beat anybody.
Damn right they can. Damn right they can. In fact, look, there are better Big Ten teams than Wisconsin.
Yes.
But their resume stacks up with nearly everyone in the conference, except for the University of Michigan, who they beat, by the way.
Right, in Ann Arbor. Right.
So Wisconsin, I look at the Big Ten and I see a lot of teams, to me, heading in the wrong direction heading into the tournament. Like Purdue's not playing well. Michigan State's playing okay. Illinois is not playing great basketball. But Wisconsin, they're playing pretty well right now. And Michigan looks like a juggernaut. They just do. Even though they lost the guard there, they've got so much size. They play defense really well. When they turn on their defense, you basically have to get them in foul trouble and hit all your threes. Then you can beat them. Good luck with that.
Well, I'll tell you what. The top 4 seeds are playing great at the end of the year. Duke, Arizona, Michigan, Florida. They're all playing really well. So much so that you're wondering, is there somebody else out there that could deny any of those 4 a trip to the Final Four? Because they all are bringing their A game late in the year. Duke, Arizona, Michigan, and Florida.
They really are. You know me, I love a chalk bracket, David. Going to be hard for me to not pick a chalk bracket this year. But the game of the night, maybe the game of the weekend, was played in Buffalo, New York last night.
Woo-wee!
8-7, the Sabres come back from 7-6, tie it, and then score in the final minute to win it in a game with, I don't know how many fighting majors ended up, because I don't know if they called some there was 5 fights.
Yeah.
But then there was another brouhaha at 20 minutes, and I didn't see how they called the penalties.
Yeah,
and excuse me, I didn't look this morning, because that game had everything. Absolutely crazy.
Another thing that's wrong with the NHL, if this were the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NFL, the league and the networks would have made sure that game was televised. Okay, because Buffalo is on a rampage. They were 27-5-2 in their last 34, and the Sabres and the Lightning were playing for first place in the division and possibly first place in the conference. Okay, but they were playing for first place in the division. And they would have made sure that game was nationally televised. And Turner had games and ESPN had games yesterday. And were the Sabres and the Lightning one of those games? No. Ridiculous. 8-7. 8-7. Lightning come from 3 goals down twice, have a 7-5 lead mid-third period. There's been 5 fighting majors, over 100 minutes and penalties, and the Sabres come back before a raucous home crowd and score their biggest regular season win of a generation. And at the end of the game, the two teams start fighting again, as if to say, we'll see you down the road. Wow.
But instead, we got Detroit and New Jersey. New Jersey, a team that's not going to make the playoffs.
No.
And in fact, they're so into Jack Hughes that they showed Jack Hughes for a minute on the bench where he was bent over and all you could see was the top of his helmet.
Right. But he took a puck off his wrist and he was in pain. So we had to watch him in pain on the bench. Right.
Didn't miss a shift, but we still saw him for a minute on the bench.
Right. Meanwhile, did we mention that Buffalo Tampa Bay was 8-7? 8-7. The Sabres go for 2 at the end and win.
It almost did. If you look at the way they scored the couple of goals there late.
Golly, what a fun game.
And as you said, the crowd in Buffalo, and look at, I think anybody who's listened to the show, I'm a Red Wing fan. 1, that game should have been on. 2, there's not a team and an organization I respect as much as the Tampa Bay Lightning, from not only the way they handle their front office and their team, but from a crowd experience, Tampa Bay is second to none. But last night, Buffalo was into it. This is the longest drought in North American sports. Their fans are sniffing the playoffs. They knew it was a big game, and they showed up like it was a big game.
And the two teams delivered. Was interesting. No Vasilevsky for the Lightning. Did he get hurt the night before, or was this just back-to-back and they decided not to play Vasilevsky back-to-back?
I think it was just back-to-back.
Wow. I thought that was a very interesting decision to play the backup goalie in a key game like that. Tell me Vazzy didn't want to play. But anyway, for the first time in a long time, the Lightning are not in first. And
as David likes to point out, however, they've got a couple of games in hand.
They do.
But you got to win those games in hand.
Mm-hmm.
But a weird one last night, 8-7 in Buffalo. The Lightning take one on the chin. And I don't want to say, they were able to beat Toronto, which they seemingly just own the Maple Leafs. So we'll see. I just chalked that up to being a really good regular season game. I'm not too worried about Tampa heading into the postseason, but there is no doubt the Buffaloes, when we had talked about hockey and the 5 teams that we thought were the best teams, it was Tampa and Carolina in the East. It was Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota in the West. You have to add Buffalo to the mix now. The way they've played over the last 35 games or so is better than anyone in the league. And it's interesting because I think the NHL quietly is smiling. They'd love to get a second round, Buffalo, Tampa. And hell, for that matter, they'd probably like a Tampa, Detroit first round. It would rate.
Yes,
it would be a good start to the playoffs for the National Hockey League. But the Gators, they look like they're a 1 seed. The NHL delivered, small college basketball delivered, and the NFL made more trades. Jason Carmello to talk the brackets in the 8 o'clock hour, and our NFL guru, Pat Kerwin, at 8 o'clock to talk about the happenings in the National Football League. The starting five is 25 minutes away here on Miller and Moulton.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
At the Diamond District, we have that one-of-a-kind ring that she's been dreaming of.
Whether you're beginning to think about proposing or already have something in mind, we're here to help.
Our sales team listens, educates, and guides you to the perfect engagement ring so you don't have to feel intimidated.
We guarantee that whatever you're looking for, you'll find it here.
So when it's time to pop the big question, come visit us, Jason and Todd, at the Diamond District.
At the Diamond District.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I have been seeing videos of her on TikTok. Are you aware of this comedian Taylor Thompson? She's probably been around a while. You're more of a comedian person than I am, David. Are you aware of who I speak?
No.
She's funny. She takes a lot of, she does like Q&A almost with the crowd. Good God, she's something.
So she works off the crowd?
I mean, you know, there's a bit that I've seen where she talks about this, you know, she's like, didn't even make, you know, what was, you know, what was the best or worst line you got on Tinder? And she, you know, I mean, she does a lot of, like, she'll ask the crowd. It's just, she's funny. Does a bit about talking about her face. She goes, I want to just, you know, I kind of want to just have sex. And, you know, and she says, you know, I have this round face. That means I want to meet your mother. And it's like, you know, we could have sex. It's like, I'd rather you meet my mom. And she's like talking about having lunch with the mom of someone she dated. And she's like, you know, my son's a lot like my husband. And if I were to do it all over again, I probably wouldn't have married him. She's like, you know, bad mother, bad wife, great friend. But I've seen a handful of clips. She cracks me up.
What's her name?
No, I don't hate this time change. This is the good one. We should be on this one. I can't hate something I'm for. Yes, brown chicken. ESPN is gone in the Southwest Florida market. I've texted and put the stations out a gazillion times. No, I cannot cook. They will not. They don't want me using a knife where I can cut myself. Even though my platelets are back to normal, they don't want me to burn myself. The cooking's out. I think it was merely back-to-back, Paul. Brown Chicken, the station was sold, and they basically shuttered those their transponders that were the FMs. I don't know if the new company didn't buy them or just shuttered them, one or the other. But the apps all belong to the Beasley company, and from the sounds of it, they didn't buy the apps because that's proprietary Beasley stuff. I mean, Beasley's put a lot of money in digital over the years, and their apps are very strong across the board.
I will say, though, in Southwest Florida, Fox Sports Radio app is excellent.
They don't have one. It doesn't. There's no such thing right now.
Yeah, they do.
Okay, well, we're on it then? Because I was told we're not on an app. That was the email I got.
Okay. Then they must have. That's weird because their app was great. Okay. I got bad info. But we're on iHeart app through 1010 in Tampa, 1070 The Zone in Port Charlotte, Twitch, YouTube.
Michael, were you the one that recommended the family or whatever? It was good. Very good. I liked it.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. So the Baltimore Ravens did something they had never done. They traded a first-round pick. In fact, they traded two of them. And they decided, you know what? We need a pass rusher. And we'll trade 2 1s for Max Crosby. The Raiders said, here, take them. So the deal went down Friday night.
Can I ask you this simple question, David?
Mm-hmm.
Because, see, in a trade, everybody has to win the trade. Both teams can't win. Is this a genuine win-win trade?
I think so.
I do too.
I think so. We were talking late last week, and we were debating if we were the Raiders, would we trade Max Crosby? And you said the reason why I would, if I were the Raiders, is I think it's going to take us a couple years to be playoff worthy. Never mind, I don't know when we're going to be good. And I don't know if Max Crosby is going to be on my team when we, he might be on our team to help us make the playoffs with 9 or 10 wins, but I don't know if Max Crosby is going to be on my team, heading into the 2030s. Now, Max isn't in his 30s, mind you. Max is what, 28, 29 years old? So he's got, knock on wood, plenty of football left in him. But I agreed with you, Mark. I thought he had 2 to 3 years of being a dominant top 5 defensive lineman in the league. And once that's up, you're paying $30+ million for a guy who, quite frankly, Mark, you don't want to end up where the Steelers are.
Right. Where you're spending all this money on defensive players who, quite frankly, are past their prime.
Right. You don't want to end up with 32-year-old TJ Watt
eating up $35 million or whatever the hell he's eating up on their salary.
And so I agreed with you, and I thought, yeah, that's why I would trade him. So the Raiders get pick 14 this year, and then whatever it ends up being next year. And the Ravens have had a pass rush problem for a couple of years. Everybody they counted on last year didn't get the job done. It was late December. I remember traveling, and I think it was around Army-Navy time, so it was mid-December. And I was traveling from the Army-Navy game to Pittsburgh. And in the process, I was listening to a lot of Baltimore radio. And somebody gave a stat that at the time, in mid-December, the Ravens did not have a defensive lineman that had 3 sacks. At the time. Still had, 3-4 games left in the year. But 12, 13 games into the season, they did not have a defensive lineman with 3 sacks. So they took care of that.
They did. And in that division, they were already considered the best team. So, and last year had an off year.
Yep.
I mean, they did.
Yep.
So, you're not drafting a Max Crosby for this year with pick 14. You're just not. So the second pick, does Vegas end up with more than what they gave away? I doubt it. Do they end up with as much? I think they could. And that's why I say this is a good old-fashioned win-win trade.
And now the Raiders with 2 first-round picks this year and at least 2 first-round picks next year. Good. They need it.
And they're getting their quarterback. Now, we don't know if he can play or not at the NFL level, but we know what they're doing with pick 1. They're getting their quarterback.
And by the
way, the one thing that's going on in Vegas that I just find a little interesting, because Crosby said something, or at least, it came out last week that he did, is Brady's guy there. People are getting a little annoyed with Brady's trainer and the access that he has.
Well,
he's on staff now. This is the first team he's ever been on staff for.
Well, he was a bone of contention with Belichick near the end in New England also.
Right, but he wasn't on staff in New England. He
wasn't,
was just there.
But Brady insisted that he basically be allowed to be around Tom. And I think the final year that Brady was in New England, Belichick said, no, enough of this. No, get him out of here.
But he's on staff with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Right. And everybody basically just thinks he's a snitch. He's a snitch with an attitude. Because apparently he's telling everybody that, he's got input into decisions. And everybody knows he's just, whatever he sees and or hears, he's just reporting to Brady.
But it's out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll be curious with the young quarterback. I don't think it becomes anything with him this year. He's just going to be excited to be in the league. But again, I just think it bears watching. That's all.
Well, also a second-year GM who's young and a first-year head coach who's young. I'll be very curious. I know I get it. It's Tom Brady. We all get it. But at some point, the problem is Brady wanted him around in New England.
Right. And Brady wants him around there so he can do what? Continue to be the broadcaster and the owner. So he has eyes and ears at both places. So just thought it's something worth bringing up. It's been in the news the last few days, probably into the early part of last week, and we'd not mentioned it. And with the Crosby trade, he was someone who talked about it, or at least, rumors were that he was talking about it and then was dealt. So thought it was worth mentioning. But I will ask this question today. Bucks fan, when you saw the trade Do you feel like your team made a mistake not making it? Lions fan, do you feel like your team made a mistake not making that trade? And for any other team out there, when you saw that it took 2 firsts and only 2 firsts to get Max Crosby, well done, David Moulton. We talked to Pat on Friday, and David's like, I don't care. I'm offering you 2 1s, and that's all there is to it. You're not getting any more, and they'll take it. Guess what? They did. So Detroit, Tampa, whomever else out there, Cincinnati lost a pass rusher. Who is it that you follow that you're going, man, we should have made that deal? But Hendrickson now, a lot of talk that he's going to end up in Tampa. You don't have to spend the first. You got to spend the money. So we'll see how the week goes because legal tampering has started, David. Just today. You couldn't legally tamper before today. There wasn't any of it.
No, none whatsoever. No.
So just curious of the team that you follow. Text the Pelican of Roofing Florida text line. 21,000 is the number. If you've not texted the show before, the keyword is Miller to 21,000. And then you can let us know your thoughts on what may have been what you wanted over the weekend with Max Crosby.
You wonder, Mark, you mentioned the Bucks and the Lions. You wonder, is the reason Max Crosby in Baltimore is because their first round pick this year was 14. The Bucks first round pick was 15 and the Lions first round pick was 17. You wonder, and maybe we'll find out, were the Bucks and or Lions also offering 2 first round picks, and Baltimore had to go 2 first round picks because they had the best first round pick to offer. The starting 5 is coming up. Pat Kerwin in 90 minutes on Miller and Moulton. The fun is happening now at the Southwest Florida Ag Expo. Bring the whole family. Thrilling midway rides, delicious fair food, good old-fashioned Florida fun. Experience agriculture up close. Meet the farm animals. Celebrate a community's roots. Live entertainment, family activities all day long. All under one roof at the Mike Greenwell Regional Park, formerly the Lee County Civic Center. Get details and daily schedules at swflagexpo.com. That's swflagexpo.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples, off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I don't know what happened, but the heat in this room got set very high, and I really need it to cool down more quickly.
Oh, okay.
Just for the record.
A few things. JS, all I heard about the F1 race is that apparently they have a new car and the drivers hate it. Robes, that Moorhead Spuds come from behind state title win was amazing. Down 4-1 mid-third, Mark. Tied it, won it in double overtime. went back-to-back state champs. And the most awesome thing is that there's 19,000 people in that arena for the state finals. It's just so awesome. I do miss the Minnesota hockey tournament.
The Michigan basketball tournament used to be that way for all classes, except for when it was just 4 classes. The Class D game didn't do huge numbers, but by the time you got to the A and B games, Chrysler was damn near sold out. And it was there was 4 semi games at Chrysler, 4 semi games at Jenison, and the finals were always at Chrysler. I think they've moved them probably to Little Caesars now. I'm not even maybe I don't even know, but there's 6 million classes now, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
And thank you, Clark.
Yeah, I guess Brown Chicken, the Cowboys only offered a first and a second. They didn't go 2 1s, so that's why they didn't get them.
If you guys in the chat room would quit talking about auto racing, David would quit talking about it. Crack me up.
It's vroom vroom.
You know who's not talking about F1? Danica.
Right.
Oh, I gotta get here. Raj, I fire the starting 5, just so you know.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Listen, if you're into the WBC, it's been terrific. I mean, it's drama.
I will say the kid pitching against the 17-year-old pitching against the U.S. and giving up 1 run against some pretty good batters was a cool story.
Yeah.
That is Contreras' kid, right?
Yeah.
Has anybody seen Manny's kid? Oh, jeez. Golly.
My wife gets so mad at me because I'm not supposed to do anything alone. And since she's not here, my mother obviously can't keep up with me on a walk. So I go for a walk alone on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm talking to my daughter on FaceTime. And I said, don't tell your mother, but I went for a walk. And I know she's listening. Her neck snaps around. She gets so mad. Why don't you ask so-and-so from down the hall? I'm like, because I don't know so-and-so from down the hall. And I have no interest in walking with so-and-so from down the hall.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X, Pat Kerwin in a little more than an hour. Jason Carmello to talk the brackets. In a couple hours' time, Right now it is time for
The Starting Five. 5 big stories you need to know. Here is The Starting Five.
brought to you by Lee County, Florida. Building a better community. Come on, you know the drill. BST, baby. Nothing delivers like BST. That's business, sports, and tourism. We'll start with the brackets. 4 more automatic bids were earned yesterday. Northern Iowa won the Missouri Valley Conference title. High Point goes back-to-back in the Big South. North Dakota State beat North Dakota in the Summit League final. And Queens, their first year eligible to go to the NCAA tournament. They win the A-Sun in overtime before about 300 people at a 15,000-seat arena.
Boy, it looked good. All those games did. Watched a couple. Yeah. The fan support was just tremendous. Yeah. Congratulations, A-Sun. I will say congratulations to High Point, by the way. I was happy they won. They're one of the better small conference teams.
Yep.
You want them to get in because they're probably a 13, maybe a 14. But if they play their best game and get a B, C game from their opponent, that's a team that could pull off an upset in the first round.
Well, especially since, Mark, the other 13s that we were counting on, Navy gets beat on a 40-footer at the buzzer. UNC Wilmington gets beat. A lot of the best of the 13, 14 lines have gone down. We got Liberty and we got High Point right now. Still alive. Teams that we think somewhat highly of. All right. We need to spend some time on this. These conference tournaments are nuts. The conference sizes are crazy. And they come up with these conference tournament brackets in which sometimes schools only have to win 2 games to go to the NCAA tournament. And sometimes a school in the same conference tournament has to win 5 or 6. Well, one of those situations is going to be at work tonight in the Sun Belt final. Georgia Southern has won 5 games in 5 days. Can they go 6 for 6? Georgia Southern against Troy. Do you know how many games Troy has won to get to the Sun Belt final? 1. So Georgia Southern's won 5 games since Wednesday. Troy won a game yesterday.
If Troy wins, will they celebrate with 8 beer?
So Georgia Southern Troy tonight in the Sun Belt final. The other bid being handed out tonight is the SoCon final between Furman and East Tennessee State. This is the time of the year when coaches get fired. Damon Stoudemire let go at Georgia Tech. The BC coach let go. The Providence coach let go. The St. Bonaventure coach forced to retire after 19 years. The MAC has fired 4 coaches in the last 3 days. That's what happens when Miami of Ohio and Akron combined only lose 1 conference game. The whole rest of the conference gets fired. Oh, by the way, South Florida finished a 23-8 regular season with a dominant 83-60 home win over Charlotte. Big crowd on hand on a beautiful Sunday afternoon in Tampa. So give it up to the Bulls fans. And also give it up to them because when the game was over, they were chanting the late coach Amir Abdul-Rahim's name, who led him to the 1 seed 2 years ago and then died tragically before the start of the 2025 season. Well done, Bulls fans.
Awesome. Went for a little stroll around the Yuengling Center yesterday morning, about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning by the baseball field. And went for a little. You know who's not up on a Sunday morning around 8:30? Any college students.
You forgot that, didn't you?
No. It's why I love walking early in the morning. Where I'm at is right here on campus. I've walked through the campus a million times. And early in the morning on the weekends, I got the place to myself.
10 games in the NBA yesterday. We'll give you 5 of them. The Heat beat the Pistons 121-110. Tyler Hero with 25. Bam Adebayo joined Dwayne Wade as the only other Heat to score 10,000 points in a Heat uniform. That's 4 losses in a row for the Pistons. The loss on Saturday was the crusher. They were up 23 at home to Brooklyn and lost to the Nets, who had lost 10 in a row. So Detroit going through a little schneid right now, having lost.
They gave up
4 in a row.
82 in the first half to the Heat. It was 82-62 at the half. 82 and a half. That's a lot of points, David.
It really is, Mark. It really is. 82 after 3 sounds about right, but not after 2. Once again, it's the NBA. You don't know who's going to play. No Giannis for Milwaukee. And so Orlando went to Milwaukee and beat the Bucks by 39. Unbelievable. 130-91. Paulo with 33. Jason Tatum made his debut Friday at home against Dallas. He scored 20 yesterday in Cleveland. The Celtics beat the Cavs 109-98. Knicks lost to the Lakers. No LeBron for LA. LA at home 110-97. And this Wembanyama guy has become a wrecking crew. He had 29 and 8, and he didn't really play the fourth quarter. Spurs over the Rockets 145-120. San Antonio's the 2 seed right now out west. Look out. Look out. We talked about it earlier in the NHL. 7 games highlighted by the Sabres and the Lightning. Buffalo with 4 power play goals and a shorthanded goal. 5 fights in the game and a scrum afterwards. Lightning rallied from 3-0 to lead 7-5 mid-third, only to blow it. Buffalo 8-7 to take over first place in the division from the Lightning. Tampa Bay does have 2 games in hand. Big win for the Red Wings. They got 31 saves from 2 goalies. John Gibson played the first 2 periods, got hurt at the end of the second. Cam Talbot came in and preserved the shutout. 3-0 Wings over the Devils, who saw their 4-game winning streak snapped.
That's the Wings' best player and goaltender who have been hurt in back-to-back games as they're trying to find a playoff spot for the first time in a decade.
Penguins rallied from a 3-0 deficit, beat the Bruins in overtime, 5-4. McKinnon, league-leading 43rd goal, and he scored the only goal in the shootout. Abs this weekend beat the Stars in overtime and the Wild in a shootout. Just to let those 2 know who's boss. Speaking of the Stars, they went overtime to beat the Blackhawks 4-3. Edmonton with 3 in the third to beat Vegas 4-2. And St. Louis they sold off half the team. They're tanking. Yeah, they've won 4 in a row, all on the road. They went to Anaheim and shut out the first place Ducks 4-0. So that's the difference between hockey and basketball right there. In golf, Arnold Palmer Invitational at Bay Hill. Daniel Berger led for the first 70 holes. And then he bogeyed 17, which dropped him into a playoff with Akshay Bhatia. And then Berger 3-putted from 106 feet in the playoff. And Bhatia won his 3rd career win, all of them in a playoff. And let me tell you, he fittingly won the Arnold Palmer Invitational because he played like Arnie down the stretch. There wasn't a pin he didn't fire at. It was good golf. Champions Tour, Zach Johnson just turned 50. So first tournament he was eligible to play in, he won it over in Boca. the Pro Football Hall of Fame Invitational. He won it by 4 over Stuart Sink and, well, friend of the show, George McNeil.
George has played in 2 tournaments, 2 top 10s. Good for him.
2 top 5s. And you talked about it before the season started. He starts with not full status on the tour. He's got a handful of events early to make his bones, and he's got 2 top 5s in his first 2 events.
It's so big to get into the big events and some of the other things. So I'm happy for George.
Yep, thrilled. $176,000, by the way, he pocketed yesterday. That doesn't
He's
hurt.
made $250,000 so far in two tournaments. That's not bad.
Right. That's not bad. NASCAR, they were in Phoenix. Ryan Blaney held off Christopher Bell for the win. Tyler Reddick had won the first 3 races of the season. He finished 8th. Ross Chastain got caught up in a wreck. He finished 28th. Baseball, if you're following the World Baseball Classic, it's been really good. United States is 2-0, but so are Mexico and Italy, and they're in their group. And tonight at 8 o'clock, it's the U.S. and Mexico. The game's in Houston. Skeens on the hill for the U.S. By the way, speaking of pitchers for the U.S., did you hear about Skubal?
Yeah, it looks like he may pitch another game. He's gotten caught up in this, and apparently, from the sounds of it, is telling his agent, I'm going to pitch more. I'll be damned.
So Skubal, who was only going to pitch once, and that was, Friday or Saturday against Great Britain. And first pitch of the game, by the way, he threw, got taken out of the park. But otherwise, 3 good innings, and U.S. won. But afterwards, Skubal was like, yeah, I think I want to be a part of this. And so you're right, Mark. He apparently has called the Tigers and Scott Boras and said, yeah, figure it out. I want to be here.
And I think it's more Boras than the Tigers. I really do.
So 8 p.m. tonight on Big Fox, U.S. and Mexico with Skeens on the hill. Finally, NFL teams can talk to anybody they want beginning today. All free agents, you can talk to any of them. You can't sign them until Wednesday at 4 o'clock. I'm sure nobody's going to get a deal done in the next 48 hours and put it in a drawer. I'm sure it's not going to happen. Over the weekend, by the way, the Eagles signed Jordan Davis to a 3-year, $78 million extension. So they got him under contract for 4 more years. The Dolphins let go of a couple guys. One of them was fullback Alec Ingold. So he signed with the Chargers. And remember, their new offensive coordinator is Mike McDaniel. Vegas traded Max Crosby to the Ravens for 2 first-round picks. And then remember the corner that Aaron Rodgers did an interview with Pat McAfee late last week in which he was asked, like, most underrated players, and he said Teron Johnson of the Bills. He said he can do anything. He can fill in at linebacker. He can guard the slot. He can cover the flankers. Okay, terrific player. And then literally like 4 hours later, the Bills announced they're going to release him to save like $4 million in the cap. Well, the Raiders said, we'll take him. So they gave him a 6th, got a 7th back, and they took Teron Johnson off the Bills' hands. I actually like the move for the Raiders. They need as many good players as they can get. And at 8 minutes before the hour mark, that was the starting 5 big stories you needed to know, courtesy of Lee County, Florida, building a better community through BST, business, sports, and tourism. So there. How about that Sun Belt final? How can you not be rooting for Georgia Southern tonight? 5 wins in 5 days. Troy advanced straight to the semis. They've won 1 game.
Do you have a problem with what the Sun Belt did in setting up their tournament?
Oh, yeah. I mean, all of them are a joke when they do things like that. But listen, the same setups in the American. South Florida goes straight to the semis, but the joke's on the Bulls because for the second time in 3 years, they're the 1 seed. And you know who they could face in the semis? UAB in Birmingham. Yeah, Mark, I hate all that stuff. But we get to root for Georgia Southern tonight. 6 for 6, baby.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape. The fun is happening now at the Southwest Florida Ag Expo. Bring the whole family. Thrilling midway rides, delicious fair food, good old-fashioned Florida fun. Experience agriculture up close. Meet the farm animals. Celebrate a community's roots. Live entertainment, family activities all day long. All under one roof at the Mike Greenwell Regional Park, formerly the Lee County Civic Center. Get details and daily schedules at swflagexpo.com. That's swflagexpo.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs and has been for 30 years. American Paint Supplies is also your #1 Festool dealer in Southwest Florida. If you are a builder, cabinet maker, painter, or power tool enthusiast, Festool craftsmanship can be found at American Paint Supplies. Celebrating 30 years of service, and Festool is celebrating 100 years of excellence. Come to American Paint Supply for a perfect pairing of service and expertise on 6100 Shirley Street, Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I've missed every major event, Mark, but she's doing great. She actually was first. She got her first ever first place in the all-around in a gymnastics meet Friday. Very proud of her. Then backed that up by playing softball on Saturday. And her first school soccer game is this week. I'll be missing all of them. Is what it is. Actually, I won't, Mark. I'll miss pretty much the whole softball season, the whole soccer season, and I've missed the gymnastics season. So I'm going to try to talk the doctors into allowing me to go to the state meet for gymnastics. That's in April. I know they're going to say no. I might go anyway and just mask up and stay away from everybody. Let's hope so. That's the plan. Do we want to do a poll question around the time change?
Okay. How would we phrase it?
Daylight savings time kicked in. How do you feel about it? I love springing forward. I miss my hour of sleep. Or I'm tired. I miss my hour of sleep.
So because of it, that's why it's so dark right now, right?
That's correct. I love the extended daylight, Tim.
Well, then what about the thought that we should just keep it the way it is right now and not change it?
I would love that. All right. Daylight savings time kicked in this past weekend. Do you like it? Should always be this way. I miss my sleep. You okay with that, David?
Absolutely.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Hour 2 of Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. And, thanks for starting your week off with us. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. So, Friday, late afternoon, they had that meeting. Like 36 people in the room. And I guess Tiger wasn't there.
Well, I mean, how can you have a meeting without Tiger?
I don't know, but it's what I thought I heard, that even though he was invited and there was no word that he wasn't going to attend, but that the reports were coming out of the meeting that he wasn't there. So there was a funny scene. I don't know if funny, haha, but just how about this? A noteworthy scene at the end of the meeting, because Condoleezza Rice was at the meeting. And she is on the college football playoff committee, and she's a big college football fan. But, her area of expertise is foreign policy. And so it was interesting when the meeting was over that it was the president, his chief of staff, Condoleezza Rice, having a discussion. All right. And then I think Condi accompanied them to the Oval Office. And, one could speculate, were they talking about NIL or, maybe were they talking about something else? Anyway.
Well, a couple of things. One, you and I don't know what screwed up. I guess screwed up a little bit because we were talking about, Charlie Ward was there. I didn't realize he was coaching.
I didn't either.
He's coaching, I think, but he's coaching college basketball.
Okay.
So I only bring that up because there was zero representation from the players.
Mhm.
Once you're a coach, you're not representing the players. You're just not. It wasn't bipartisan, which I'm not surprised by. And the president came out and basically said sports are going to be bankrupt unless I issue an executive order in a couple of days. Now, we had a poll question last week. Would anything happen from this? David and I both thought it did. Most of you didn't. It was about 2/3 said nothing will happen. A third thought something will happen. We'll see, but early indications are something's going to happen.
That he's going to pass at least one executive order, and heck, he may pass two.
But
And I think the White House, Mark, is going to put a lot of pressure on Congress, something having to do with college sports antitrust status. It hasn't worked in the past.
And to your point, one of the things that was actually talked about is, well, they're going to sue. And they're like, yeah, we don't care.
Right.
So, I only bring this up because, my mom likes a couple of teams, and they're mostly the teams that I like. So yesterday, my mom's my caregiver. We're watching Michigan State. And she throws out a line, and this is a mom line. And I took her to task a little bit, but not bad. It was mom after all. But she said, they're really trying hard. And I looked at her, I said, Mom, with what they're getting paid, they need to do more than try. This is no longer a college effort. That team makes about $12 million combined as a team. I don't give a damn about trying. I want W's.
Yeah.
And she was taken aback. She's like, what? She was, I knew they were getting paid. I didn't have any idea it was that much. I'm like, yeah, Mom, Kentucky's spending $20 million on their basketball team.
To finish 9th in the SEC, that's a whole other story.
But yes. So, trying doesn't, the good old college try means squadoosh anymore.
Right.
But
either that or we're just going to have to redefine what college try is. Hey, that might have worked in the 70s and 80s. That ain't working now, buddy.
Got that right. I need W's.
I was going to say, we ain't interested in trying. We're interested in winning. We're paying you to help us win.
So I just laughed at that. But I thought it was funny and wanted to share because, I still think there are the casual fans out there that just don't understand how much damn money is in the sport, in the college sports world now. So how do you put the toothpaste back in the tube? Because that's David, doesn't it seem like that's what they're going to try to do?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's not going to hold. It's not. It's going to face lawsuits immediately. And it'll be interesting. Can they get injunctions immediately, which would then obviously put things on hold? I got to admit, I thought something substantive was going to come of this. I didn't think it was going to be, we're going to try to put the toothpaste back in the container, even though we know that's ultimately not going to work, but it'll buy us 1 to 3 years. So I'm going to do it anyway. See you in court. I really thought they were going to just decide on some rules that didn't have to do with the money. It seems like the only thing they focused on was the money.
And hey, you and I have talked about this. Could the money be sustained? Because for a lot of these programs, it's the same people who give the money year after year.
Right.
How long are they going to be able to fund an athletic department. And what was it, the SCORE Act that gave them the $20.5 million to spend on their teams, trying to put essentially a salary cap in college athletics?
Right.
And then the side money, the collectives just laughed at it. And they said, well, that's a start.
Right.
That'll get us going.
Yeah, that might be good for the other sports. Maybe we could spend that 20 million on basketball and baseball and a few of the women's sports, but I don't know about you, but we're looking at 30 to 40 million dollar football payrolls. And we ain't talking the coaching staff either. We're just talking the players.
And to me, the irony of ironies, and David, help me with his name if you have it off the top of your head, but the Texas Tech guy.
Oh, I think it's Connolly.
Okay. He, in his statements after, wants to make sure he's helping out the president with this executive order. And I just laugh because this is the guy who spent all of the money on the advertisements we watched throughout the college football season, talking about all the Olympic sports and they're not going to get money, while out of the other hand, he's single-handedly funding Texas Tech athletics.
Cody Campbell.
Campbell, there you go.
I had the alliteration in my head. I just got it wrong. Cody Campbell. Right.
He's the guy out of all of this that cracks me up. He's spending as much money as anybody to make sure his alma mater wins. And yet he's spending an equal amount of money on telling us that this is bad for college athletics. Okay. Which one is it, sir? And are you looking for a sponsorship of a radio show program? I mean, I'll take your money. I have no problem with him spending it. It's just peculiar as to how he's going about it.
I particularly enjoyed Greg Sankey standing up for the women's sports and the Olympic sports.
Rich.
Very rich. Very rich, yes. Because we certainly think Greg Sankey cares about those sports, don't we?
Not one bit.
No. So I thought that was rich. I don't know how you put the money back in the suitcase unless you're going to sit down and negotiate with them. I don't see how the Supreme Court is going to allow you to do it. They voted 9-0 against you. 9-0 against you. The judges that you thought would be on your side were the most vocal against your side. You have no chance in court of doing this unless you're going to do it on the up and up. And I understand it'll be hard. It will be. And quite frankly, let's face it, certain schools and certain conferences don't want a salary cap. They don't. They know they can raise more money than the rest of you. Okay? They were better at paying players before you could legally pay players. Now they're better at paying players when you can legally pay players. Why? They have access to more money. They're not going to want to play by the same rules. This is like baseball. Think the Dodgers want to play by the same rules as the Brewers?
Yeah, you think Notre Dame wants to play by the same rules as Northwestern? Come on.
But,
although I don't know if that's a good example. If Northwestern really got their you-know-what together, they could probably get the money.
Well, yeah, and they've gotten it to build those facilities, which are
Right.
beautiful. But, I mean, this is layered. It's complicated. I mean, this is a lot like trying to solve healthcare. You're not going to be able to do it in one broad swoop. You can't. It's too complicated. But to think you can put the toothpaste back in the jar, you got to be kidding me. When has that ever happened? Seriously, could anybody tell me when that's ever happened?
You know, it's the one thing Miller and Moulton have talked about for a long time. We don't really go backward in this world. when we get to 16 games and then went to 17? Do you really think we're going to go backward? It doesn't matter the sport. I mean, you and I have only talked about this for damn near 20 years. They don't knock down Vegas casinos to build smaller ones.
Now, I do think you could pass some rules and or laws, if you will, about eligibility, transfer, how many years, things like that. But the money, no, the money will be the last thing that you can solve. And it's complicated, and you know it.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
The fun is happening now at the Southwest Florida Ag Expo. Bring the whole family. Thrilling midway rides, delicious fair food, good old-fashioned Florida fun. Experience agriculture up close. Meet the farm animals. Celebrate a community's roots. Live entertainment, family activities all day long. All under one roof at the Mike Greenwell Regional Park, formerly the Lee County Civic Center. Get details and daily schedules at swflagexpo.com. That's swflagexpo.com.
At the Diamond District, we have that one-of-a-kind ring that she's been dreaming of.
Whether you're beginning to think about proposing or already have something in mind, we're here to help.
Our sales team listens, educates, and guides you to the perfect engagement ring so you don't have to feel intimidated.
We guarantee that whatever you're looking for, you'll find it here.
So when it's time to pop the big question, come visit us, Jason and Todd, at the Diamond District.
At the Diamond District.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I don't know, DC. I got to be honest. I like the moves the Avs made at the deadline as much as anybody. Getting what Cadre or whatever his name is back in the middle, that's big. Gives them more grit.
Nobody is deeper at the center position than the Avs because they didn't think they were going to get Cadre back, and they had acquired a guy who was going to fill in as their third line center. So now they're staggeringly deep down the middle.
Very disappointed in Detroit to not get a score. I don't care that the prices were high. watching the Florida game. At least I had to watch the third period pirating it. And, Gibson, now obviously he got hurt last night, but that's now 9 starts in which he's given up 2 or less. They got the D guy. That's big, and it helps. But come on now. They need goal scoring.
Well, and what? Your power play is 28th?
It's awful.
Yeah. Trocheck.
They got one last night, which was big. Yeah, Trocheck would have been huge. Huge.
Trocheck really would have helped you. Good dude. Can score, win faceoffs, kill penalties. Not only that, he's from Pittsburgh. Detroit's not far away.
No, and he played his junior hockey in Saginaw.
Right.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty strong word, Michael. Whoever comes out of that, you're going to say someone choked out of Dallas, Minnesota, and Colorado. I have trouble with that. And I will say, for you guys all going political, this is a break. For all of you complaining about wanting Epstein files out, and I agree with you, they should all be out. Both sides voted basically unanimously not to allow sexual harassment charges against member of Congress to be made a matter of public record.
Right.
It's a joke.
Yep.
It's a joke.
370 out of 450 voted to keep it secret.
Yep.
We need to start fresh.
Nice, Matthew. Well done. Middled that one, huh? Picked the winner and the points. That's what we would have bet. We were with you on that. That's nicely done.
And that was a system win for us.
Here we go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Pat Kerwin will join us at the top of the hour. Jason Carmello in a little more than an hour to talk brackets. I hesitated booking him on today's show, thinking maybe we should wait a couple more days because, well, what the hell are we going to talk to him about? Everybody who was on the bubble or close to the bubble lost.
Well, I do. He made a very compelling case for Auburn last week. And he also talked about no team who has lost 16 games has made the tournament. Well, in order for Auburn to only lose 15, it means they have to win the SEC tournament. Right. No one thinks they're going to do that.
No.
So are they in or are they out after the events of the weekend? That's one of the things I'm interested in. Also looking at some of these, I think, is Florida a lock at a 1 seed now? Is that done? Because he did give us credit, David, and, not many people too, and rightly so. But he did give us credit when I said, look, the college conference tournaments don't matter. Seeding's already done. And he said, well, I'm glad you guys have figured that out, because a lot of people get caught up in the emotion of the conference tournament. So what conference tournaments matter? Are there because of everybody losing on the bubble, how important are not necessarily first round games in conference tournaments, but second round games when we get 2 perhaps tournament teams or 2 bubble teams playing one another? So I think there's some there.
All right.
And Pat Kerwin coming up top of the hour, as we can now legally tamper for the next couple of days.
Right.
We have a poll question, David.
Okay.
Daylight savings time is kicked in. Do you like it? 2 answers. Should always be this way. I miss my sleep. We do have a texter who said the following. Pelican Roofing of Florida text line. 21,000 is the number. The keyword's Miller. If you've never texted the show before, text Miller to 21,000, and then you can let it rip. Whoever invented daylight savings time needs to be dragged out behind the woodshed by their ears and beaten with a pool cue. He apparently doesn't like daylight savings time.
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah.
I love daylight savings time. It should be like this year round. One of the main reasons I like it, David, is especially this time of year, and obviously I can't take advantage of it because my golf days are over for about another 5 months. But you can sneak out at like 4 o'clock and get 18 in because no one's on the golf course.
Right.
You can go out at 4:30. You know, at my club, no one's playing at that time. You can go out by yourself or with a buddy, couple of beers, let the music rip, and just race around the golf course. There is nothing better. Love it. I'm a big fan of daylight savings time. I think it should be year-round.
But you think where we have the clocks now?
Correct. Daylight savings time.
Well, what is it that we did back in late October, early
Standard
November?
time.
Okay.
I mean, that's, you know, this is whatever. This is Eastern, whatever time, not Eastern Standard Time. Up until
Gotcha.
this weekend, it was Standard Time.
All
I
right.
love daylight savings. So that's that. You had 2 choices. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton, Miller_Moulton on X. If you don't subscribe to X, you can shoot us a text and let us know your thoughts. Like this gentleman says, let's keep the time like it is and never go back. He's on Team Daylight Savings Time.
Couple of things just thrown out there. Don't know if they have to be poll questions or just stuff that you'll respond to on the text line and in the chat rooms. So, do you like what the Ravens did? Giving up 2 ones for Max Crosby? Do you like what the Raiders did in trading away Max Crosby for 2 ones? Did they get enough in your estimation? Just curious. Also, any of you interested in the World Baseball Classic? I mean, the games were everywhere. I mean, Fox, Big Fox, Little Fox, Little Fox. I mean, the games were everywhere. Anybody interested? Some of the scenes are remarkable. Sold out crowds in major league stadiums, raucous atmospheres. You know, Dusty, I mean, who was it? Who was 1 strike away with 2 outs and nobody on in the 9th, 3-1 lead, and they ended up giving up a 3-run homer to Ozzy
Nicaragua?
Albies.
I thought it was Nicaragua that was leading in.
And they
Full
lost
game.
to the Netherlands, which I have to admit, I didn't realize that Ozzy Albies had some Dutch in him, but he hits a 3-run homer and 4-3 Netherlands. And Nicaragua's crushed. Boy, what a bad break they caught. Did you see? It's 2 out, runner on. I don't know if the runner's on first or second. I don't know. It doesn't matter because it's 2 outs. And a ground ball's hit to third. And the third baseman goes behind the bag and he's going to field the ball. And the ball hits the bag and bounces over his head into the outfield. And so
Behind the
because of it,
bag? Gets through the third baseman?
here comes Knight and the Mets win it. So the ball hits the bag and bounces over the third baseman. He had no chance on what would have been a routine final out of the game. And then the next guy on the very next pitch, first pitch fastball, boom, 4-3.
Look,
And-
I want the U.S. to win because I always wrap myself in the flag. I may watch when we get to the semifinals.
Okay.
If there's a game I would want to go see in person, it would be any game with the Dominican Republic. The chance in Japan would be cool over, you know, I mean, to see the way their fans react and how they have different, basically, there's walk-up music for players. The Japanese team has basically different chants and dances by the crowd for each player. That's pretty cool. But this isn't something that American fans seem to be into for Team USA. I mean, Dominican, they kill the baseball. They're smashing it all over the place. Their crowd is into it. They're dancing around. They're having a big time. That looks like that would be fun. You and I have talked for years, David, that we want to go see a World Cup game. They may have priced the two of us out of it this summer because it's just stupid money to go see a game. But David and I, for at least 8 years, if not longer, have always said we have no interest in going to see USA in a World Cup. Both of us have said whether it's a big European team, but really and truly what I would like to see is one of the great South American teams. I would.
Totally.
The atmosphere looks amazing. And for the Dominican and for Japan in the World Baseball Classic, that atmosphere is similar.
So Group C is the Asian group. It's Korea, it's Japan, and it's Taiwan, referred to as Chinese Taipei, and I forget the other nation. Might be China. But anyway, Mark, Taiwan beat Korea, and apparently they were crying. These are grown men. They had never beaten them before. They beat them 5-4 in 10 innings. They were crying on the field. I mean, this may be something that not many people in this country are paying attention to. In a lot of other places around the world, they're all in on this. We just got
And
to
some of us that listen are like this gentleman on the Pelican Roofing of Florida text line that simply says, I'm treating Japan in the World Baseball Classic like I treated Canada in Olympic hockey. Red, white, and blue through the veins. Pat Kerwin in 30 minutes. Jason Carmello in about an hour on Miller and Moulton.
Your
I'm
roof is your
Miller and
home's
Moulton.
first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow and Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow and Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow and Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise. On 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
This is Miller and Moulton.
College basketball game every time, Panda. And Michael, you're probably not wrong, but the NBA is not going to shut down for 2 or 3 weeks. They've got the World Championships or whatever. And remember, Major League Baseball doesn't own the World Baseball Classic, right, David? Or do they?
I thought they do.
Oh, they do. So they make the money.
Uh-huh.
Now the world, the basketball World Championships are not owned by the NBA.
No, that's FIBA. For some reason, DC, and I'll look it up. Why do I have the 19th in my head? I guess it's the 17th. So
See, Michael, that you can't answer because I have 2 TVs. It has nothing to do with the question. Many of us do. The question is, you're watching one or the other. I inhaled a little bagel there. A little bagel residue.
okay. Oh God.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes until Pat Kerwin joins us at the top of the hour. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Thanks so much for being with us. We have a couple poll questions, don't we? I know we got the daylight savings time question. Did we put another one up or no? Was that
Not
it?
that I'm aware of.
Okay. All
Hey,
right.
what was I supposed to put one up on?
No, I don't know. We're just kicking a few things around. The Crosby trade. Would you have given up the 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby? Don't know if it's worthy of a poll question. I think it's worthy of discussion. If you listen to this show, I was all in. All in. I mean, edge rusher, one of the 5 best in the game. I think he's got 3 elite years left in him for sure. The odds
Let me
are,
ask
by
you
the
this,
way,
David. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, with the way teams draft, Mark, honestly, you confident your team's going to get both first-round picks right? It's another reason why I would make more of these deals. No offense. Okay, I've seen your drafting record. Some of you guys, you should trade away some of your first-round picks.
It is interesting that you give that point, and it's a very valid one. It's funny, who's the team that traded the first rounders? The team that gets it right more than maybe anyone else.
Right.
In the Baltimore Ravens. They draft as well as anybody in the game.
Yep.
But let me ask you, if you were Tampa and you were interested, and you were Detroit and you were interested, would you have given up more? Given the fact that Baltimore's first pick was ahead of both Tampa and Detroit, would you have gone 2 1s at a 3? You know what I'm saying, because you'd have had to give up a little bit more if Baltimore's offer included a better first-round pick this year.
Right.
So if you were Detroit and or Tampa Bay, would you have given up more? Now, I don't know if I would have given up a player, but if it was a third, if it, maybe, I don't know if a fourth would have got it done. So let's just say 2 1s and a 3. If you were Tampa and or Detroit, would you have made that deal?
No, but I would have tried to include a player in the deal. For this reason, there's certain guys that you wouldn't mind moving off of, or salary-wise, it's like, I wouldn't mind clearing this $5-6 million salary. And the Raiders, A, have a ton of cap room, and B, they need a bunch of players. So while somebody that you think you could replace for less, the Raiders may be like, hey, thanks a lot. Yeah, we'll take him. So I would have actually tried to attach a player to the deal. I would not have attached a 3rd-round pick.
Okay.
Which might be foolish on my part.
No, I'm just that to me, if I'm the Raiders, that's what I would have wanted.
Oh, sure.
I wouldn't have wanted your cast-offs, so to say. And I get the reason why you're saying what you are, but it's why I went with a 3rd-round pick.
But like the Raiders have arguably the worst offensive line in the league. Okay, if you could have gotten one of Tampa Bay's starting offensive linemen, 2 1s, and even if it's the guy that Tampa thinks is their worst starter, he'd be an upgrade for the Raiders. So, I might have gone for that, but no doubt. Baltimore was picking 14th, Tampa was picking 15th, Detroit was picking 17th. So, yeah, if you're the Raiders, you're looking at Tampa and Detroit saying, well, you got to throw a little something in. And obviously, or I'm going to make the deal with Baltimore.
Because there's no guarantees how any of these teams are going to be this year to show you where that pick's going to be.
Right.
Every team's one injury away from all of a sudden this pick being a top 10 pick. They're 1 year of getting all the breaks Kansas City got 2 years ago from maybe playing in the last game of the season.
But I'm glad there's some urgency from Baltimore. You've won a lot of games in the last dozen years. A lot of games. How many times have you been in the Super Bowl? How many AFC championship games have you been to with Lamar? One. Yeah. I'd like a little urgency. Thank you very much. Yeah.
In the
I don't think-
AFC, that looked so much better not too long ago, David. After, the Patriots get there this year and the teams that they beat to get there, maybe it was a fluky year. And obviously, Bo Nix getting hurt didn't help Denver, but there's no clear-cut favorite in the AFC.
No.
I mean, I
And
think it's Buffalo till proven otherwise, David. As a favorite. I'm just, I could be wrong, but I would say it's either Buffalo or Denver right now.
how about this? For the longest time, we looked at the North as the best division in the AFC. Where would you rank it now? I mean, we're all assuming Kansas City is going to come back and be above 500, right? We don't know if they're going to be what they were, but I think we're assuming that Kansas City is going to get its act together to at least go 9-8, right? I mean,
Boys, Vegas sure does, because right now Kansas City's the third betting favorite to win the AFC. That's laughable to me.
so we got 3 good teams in the West, right? How many good teams do you think you got in the South? I mean, one team won 13 last year, the other team won 12, and the team that finished 8-9 lost their last 7 after their quarterback got hurt. Before that, they were the 1 seed in the conference.
So after the trade, lines were affected in the AFC. Baltimore right now the favorite to be the AFC conference winner.
Oh,
Plus 475. Buffalo is next at 5-1. The Chargers and Kansas City are both 7-1. The Patriots 8-1. The Broncos, who would have been favored in the AFC Championship game if not for their quarterback being injured, 9-1. Jags and Texans 10-1. Bengals 14-1. And then the only other team that's better than 30-1 are the Colts at 22.5-1.
well, and that was my point. That when we look at the AFC North right now, doesn't it feel shaky? I mean, Cleveland's a dumpster fire until they prove otherwise. The Bengals can't get it together. I mean, they had those back-to-back years that they went to the AFC Championship game. They've had 3 years in a row now where they haven't done any better than 9-8. They haven't made the playoffs in any of those 3 years. And Pittsburgh, who hasn't won a playoff game in a decade and has perfected winning 9 or 10 games a year. But that was with Tomlin. And are we sure they can do it with McCarthy? And who's their quarterback again?
No idea. Ty Simpson.
So do we look at the North right now and go, wow, this division's shaky? And is it a real opportunity for a couple years here for Baltimore to run roughshod over this division?
And when you do that, if you think the division's as down as David may be implying, well, with that comes a 1 seed a lot of the time.
Now, the Ravens, 2 of the last 7 seasons have been the 1 seed and have lost at home in the playoffs both times. But it just seems to me as if the North right now is vulnerable. Pittsburgh's in transition. They won't admit it. Cincinnati just doesn't have their act together, and they don't have enough good players on defense. And Cleveland's a mess. Now, the AFC East has 2 bad teams. I mean, right now, wouldn't you be shocked if the Dolphins and Jets both don't draft in the top 5 next year? I mean, they're bad teams. And I don't know if they can do anything between now and the end of April to change our opinion of them not being a top 5 pick in the 2027 draft. But we'll see. But we think they have 2 good teams. We think the AFC South, good. How many good teams? That's all. Not very good, not great. How many good teams do you think there are in the AFC South?
And we think there's 3. Not, and David described that perfectly. Not great. Not a game. Sorry, I couldn't help it. You gave me an Iverson vibe with that.
I did. But I'd at least be willing to say 2 in the South. There are 2 in the East, 3 in the West. Okay, how many good teams are there in the North right now?
Do you consider Cincinnati good?
No.
That's really the question.
How can you? No, listen, and I love Joe Burrow. Okay, I would love for the Bengals to, go to and win a Super Bowl. I would love it. Because they've never won one, and you know how I feel about franchises that have never had a parade. But, I mean, they haven't made the playoffs in 3 straight years. The most wins they've had in any of those seasons is 9. They just lost their best defensive player, and their defense is bottom 3 in the league.
And their offensive line's bad.
So, I mean, if you just had to answer the question, how many good teams are there in the AFC North? Good. Not pretty good. Not above average. How many good teams are there? I don't know if Pittsburgh or Cincinnati qualifies, Mark.
I don't think Pittsburgh does. I think Cincinnati could, but right now I don't think that they do.
And that's why I'm wondering if there's a real opportunity here for Baltimore. Never mind the fact that you don't know how much longer Derrick Henry's going to be elite. Okay, Lamar's now gotten some injuries and he's approaching 30. I mean, it's time. It is definitely time. I'm glad there's some urgency in Baltimore. It's time. You fired your coach of 18 years. You traded away first-round picks. Good. I'm glad. Yeah, enough with the slow and steady wins the race approach, and we'll just keep stockpiling good players and just keep taking our chances. Blank that. It's time to win in January.
David, based on the recent stories about your favorite NFL quarterback, Joe Burrow, should the Bengals think about changing their name to the Cougars?
Okay.
I'm just wondering. And maybe, that seems to be a trend now with NFL players. When you're in your 20s, dating a woman over the age of 40. Good for the women. Good for them. Belichick's not cornered the market on dating young women. Apparently, the players can date older women too. Good for those ladies.
So are you suggesting that Joe Burrow and Cooper DeJean should go and double date?
I think they should.
Okay.
I think they should.
And if you don't know of which Mark speaks, well, Google it.
So, I just saying, should the Bengals change their name to the Cougars? And would that give them a better shot at being a playoff team? I think it's a fair question.
It's certainly a loaded one. That is for sure. But, I mean, very quickly, all right, good teams. You can do the same thing in the NFC. Off the top of your head, you can only say there's one good team in the East. Okay? You can, 3 in the West? How many in the North? They all finished above 500 last year. Are they all good?
I think 3 of the 4 are.
Okay.
I'm not sure about the Vikings, but I think 3 of the 4 are.
And if I told you they went and got a competent quarterback, you'd change your tune.
I'd say 4 of 4.
Right. But let's just say we go 3, 4 in the North, 1 in the East, and none in the South, right? Any good teams in the South?
Tampa has the most potential.
But nobody finished above 500 last year. I mean, you
No,
can't
you're
call them
right.
good.
No, you're right. It's tough. It's tough to call them good right now.
So we come up with 8 in the NFC. How many in the AFC? We just went 2, 1, 3, and we'll play it safe and go 2 in the South. That's 8. But only 1 in the Ravens division. Pat Kerwin next.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay is between $74,000 and $90,000 depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape. The fun is happening now at the Southwest Florida Ag Expo. Bring the whole family. Thrilling midway rides, delicious fair food, good old-fashioned Florida fun. Experience agriculture up close. Meet the farm animals. Celebrate a community's roots. Live entertainment, family activities all day long. All under one roof at the Mike Greenwell Regional Park, formerly the Lee County Civic Center. Get details and daily schedules at swflagexpo.com. That's swflagexpo.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, celebrating 30 years in Naples, is proud to be the exclusive Farrow & Ball dealer in Southwest Florida. The best thing to come from the UK since the Beatles, Farrow & Ball has the colors and paints at American Paint Supplies. See why all the designers and painters choose Farrow & Ball. For 30 years, American Paint Supplies provides the perfect pairing of service and expertise. On 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net. American Paint Supplies is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Good morning, Pat.
Good morning, Cougars. Mark.
I love the low-hanging fruit, Pat. I can't help myself.
I know, but it's just a great example of your sense of humor and how well you're doing. You are to sit here and come up with, why don't they just call themselves the Cougars? I just couldn't stop laughing. Have you ever seen Cooper DeJean?
No, not in person, obviously.
Yeah, I sat with him he did a special with us at the Super Bowl with his buddy. He looks like he's 14.
Right. I mean, I looked at the picture with that MMA or wrestling chick he's dating. It does look like mother and son. It truly does.
Yeah. He was the youngest looking NFL player I've talked to in 20 years. There's no way.
He looks like a little kid. I mean, he's going to be 40 and still get carded for crying out loud.
Yep. When we signed Wayne Corbett, the guys were calling him Towel Boy. He looks so young. The guys on the team call him Towel Boy and all kinds of funny names suggesting that you look like a child. But he looked old compared to this kid.
Yeah, Cooper looks young. I mean, he does look like a little kid.
Yep.
It's like, I go for my walks because I'm on a campus. I'm on University of South Florida's campus, Pat. And you see, first off, I laugh because it looks like, and I've not looked it up, but it looks like the ratio here. It's like my son should have gone to school here. It looks like the ratio of women to men is about 5-1. I mean, even my wife, we're walking. She goes, "Did you notice all the girls are beautiful and all the guys are ugly and there's far more girls?" And I said, "Of course I didn't notice." But some of the kids you see, and you see a girl and she's pretty and she's 21, 22, but she looks like a woman. There are others that you see walking and you're going, they look like they're 14 walking around here.
Yeah.
And that's how Dejean looks, Dejean or whatever. He looks like a little kid. He's got that baby face.
And the baby face fools you because you think what's behind the curtain there is a kid. And then when he talks, he's like dead serious, good football player, physical. He's got it all going, but that's the part of him that's the mystery. And now the social behavior is even funnier. Well, it's good to hear your voices, boys. Thanks for taking me on a Monday.
Not a problem.
We had a nice on Sunday. This is re-sign weekend because the panic of free agency is real. A lot of the guys don't want to be free agents. They thought they did until it got to this, and then they realized, wait a second, what if no one signs me? So they panicked. We had, by my count, just yesterday, 19 signings heading into this morning. So we'll have another 25, 30 this afternoon.
I have no problem with I thought it was, you think they can draft one, but I thought the Chargers signed in the Ingold there was a good signing. I thought that was one if Detroit wanted a guy to be a basher. I thought that would have been the perfect guy.
Yep, me too.
But I mean, I get Harbaugh. I mean, that's fascinating just to see the way McDaniel threw the ball, and he was a run game coordinator, and Harbaugh we know just likes to run the ball. So it's to me one of the more fascinating teams heading into next year.
I also think he knows his offensive line's bad, and now he's got at least the lead back. Yeah.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Halfway home on this Monday, at least in Jacksonville, Tampa, St. Pete, and Fort Myers and Naples. Final hour of the show. Live Oak Lake City, surrounding areas, Port Charlotte, Venice, and surrounding areas. We are Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Pat's a busy man. He's got things going on this week. He said, hey, I normally come on Tuesday, but can I come on Monday? I said, yeah, it's the first day, essentially legalized free agency. And plus we had a major trade and signings over the weekend. So absolutely. So Pat Kerwin joins us, courtesy of Pinchers. Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. So first off, as a GM, what takes place today that in theory was not taking place the 2 weeks previous? I mean, how crazy are you working the phones today? I mean, did you start at 12:01 a.m.? I mean, what's your job like today, the first legalized day you can talk to free agents?
Well, it's a charade because this has been going. We all know what happened at Indianapolis. There's no way, guys. You know how it is. If the three of us running clubs, one at each different club, and you guys both suspect I'm talking to GMs, I'm talking to agents and players, are you going to sit on your hands and wait? I know Mark won't. Pat's doing what? Yes, I'll be talking. So it's been going on for a while, and everyone's getting a feel for the landscape. And that's why we've had all these re-signings yesterday and this morning. They have figured out, their agents, that there's no market for you, or the market's limited and you might as well take what they have. So we landed up from Sunday morning, starting with Khalil Mack, we ended up with 19 of these re-signs, and we'll have 25 today. So that you see the effect of this, because once you know that people are talking and your agent says, couldn't strike up anybody's interest in you, you're going to take a deal. So that's the first part. Second part, now you're allowed to Zoom with the players or talk to the players with 5 guys once, which is, come on. That's the part you don't do before now. You are not talking to those players. The agents, that's an easy bump. I bump into you at a restaurant and, hey, what are you doing with Dave Moulton? Oh, yeah, we're checking the market out. Oh, really, man? We thought he played great when we played him. So that kind of stuff happens. But it's going to go fast. We know it's going to happen on Wednesday. Probably tonight and tomorrow, they'll start announcing deals that have been struck. They're already talking about Wan'Dale Robinson's deal in Tennessee. They all know what's going to happen. But on Wednesday, we'll just have that mad rush out the door, and we'll have about, 20 signings, and then it'll calm down, because you and me, the 3 of us, are going to sit here on Friday and go, oh, let's talk about, this will be a David question. Let's talk about the 10 guys that just got overpaid. And we will all laugh, and that's what we're going to do.
All right. And you're right, Pat. We've talked about the 2 philosophies. Belichick's philosophy, sitting and waiting. Other teams want to win free agency. I don't know if you can win a Super Bowl winning free agency. But there are certain teams, like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that have a need for a pass rusher. Hendrickson's been linked to them. How many of these players, Linderbaum, the center, tell me who you think, I don't know about overpaying you drastically, but guys that you think you have to get done quickly in free agency.
Yeah, I think that's a more important question, because if I need them, then shame on someone to tell me I overpaid them, some of these deals have already been criticized for overpay. But I think Linderbaum goes real early wherever he goes. I think the 2 running backs, ATN and Walker, will go early for sure. And I think those are the obvious and the right ones. And most teams about 10 years ago stopped jumping on top of the over 30 crowd. Now, when it comes to Hendrickson, and I've gone through this with you guys last week, his last 41 games are better production numbers than that of Mr. Crosby on sacks, especially. So he will get signed, and it'll be a lot of money. And that'll be one we'll talk about. Would you have done it? And I'll probably start with, well, they didn't give any draft picks away for him. So the foundation of your team is still intact. So those kind of things will happen. But inside of the first 10 to 15 guys, we're going to see guys signed that we shouldn't see signed. It's interesting. Khalil Mack went back for a year. Now, he's old. But you could look at his production. You could look at the production of Von Miller. I was with Von Miller at the Super Bowl. Von was like, look how I played. They reduced his workload, and the guy almost got to 10 sacks. I've seen David say things to me about guys with 10 sacks. They like the idea of a 10-sack guy. So I don't think anyone will jump on him right away. I think he thinks he's going to go back to Buffalo. I'm not sure of that, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see signings, and it's going to get lean real fast. This is not a strong year, as the 3 of us have discussed, getting ready for it.
Although I will say there are a few decent players that teams as of now have not re-signed that has surprised us. Kenneth Walker may be highlighting the list. If you're not going to re-sign a 25-year-old stud running back, I makes me wonder if I'm a player on Seattle. I don't think they're going to pay you. If they ain't paying Kenneth Walker after last year in the Super Bowl and Charbonnet getting hurt, you can't be guaranteed Seattle's ever going to pay anybody, at least in the next couple of years. Very quickly, your thoughts on the Ravens, who had never done this. The Ravens giving up 2 first-round picks for Crosby.
Well, we've talked about this a lot on this show. They're going to look at those first-round picks, and they're going to be, in their minds, not that high. So they're going to think, we got a chance because they're going to be lower picks. I laughed when someone said, how come they didn't trade him to New England? And they made this thing sound like there was a little Tom Brady kind of thing, but their picks were low. They weren't as interesting as where Baltimore was picking. So I like that Baltimore did it. But at the end of the day, they still have a quarterback that can't win a big game. I hate to say it, and I love the guy. But when are we going to address that seriously as we get ready to pay him again? That, we keep talking about him. He's in the same boat as Josh Allen. We love both of them, but they haven't delivered yet. And you can build around them all you want. When are they going to play the way they have to play in a big game, especially Lamar? Lamar's performances in these major games is not great.
All right. Speaking of quarterbacks, I was looking at different free agent rankings, and I kind of giggled when I saw how high Kyler Murray was ranked on a couple of reports, because I wouldn't sign him, Pat. What do you think the market is for Kyler Murray?
Well, you got desperate teams, whether it's the Jets. I don't think the guy is going to go sign a deal to be someone's backup. His ego is in place that he wants to start. And the question back to you, Mark, is which teams can promise him the starting job, which will be reflected in some form of job security. We all know that the Cardinals are paying most of the money, except for $1 million or so. But who's gonna give him the opportunity to be the starter, and he believes them? Minnesota? I haven't heard that from Minnesota. You want to tell your owner that the guy we took in the first round is a bust, and we're bringing in the starter?
Well, they fired the guy who made the pick, though.
I
mean, O'Connell can tell the owner, I didn't want him. Whether he did or not, he can tell the owner, I didn't want him.
Well, you can't say those things because the owner's in the room. Here's how the day before the draft works. Everybody's in the room, and the owner asks directly to everyone's face, do you want this guy? The day of the draft, it's like, yesterday you said you wanted McCarthy. Do you still want him? Yes, Mr. Owner. That's how it works. The owners make you hold yourself accountable, so he can't say anything now that he didn't say back then.
All right. Then is there a quarterback? Obviously Cousins is there. Rodgers is there. It looks like Geno Smith's going to be there shortly. Is there a quarterback, if you were in the position where you needed to find a starter, who would you take right now, Pat?
If I don't have anyone else on the roster, like the Jets, that kind of situation?
Yeah,
I'd probably take Cousins. I think Cousins can coach the players. They'll probably be interested in Murray too. But the thing about Cousins is you can take a third-round quarterback, put him behind Cousins. Cousins knows how to operate. He'll coach the receivers up. I'm not really confident that Kyler can do that. Now, they'll probably like Kyler more. I don't think the threat of baseball is anything but laughable, but I don't think Cousins will come. So why I say that is because you asked me what the club should want to do. But Cousins, to me, I've had enough conversations with him. I believe he's just happy to be in Atlanta. Would he go back to Minnesota? I think he's kept his house in Minnesota. How would you guys like that one?
Well, that's what Minnesota should do. I mean, let's be honest. Of all the quarterbacks available, I mean, I've heard Murray linked to them. I found that laughable. I mean, Cousins has won there for this coach running that offense. How can there be an available quarterback except possibly Aaron Rodgers? How could you be choosing any other quarterback if you're Minnesota besides Cousins?
I couldn't. And in the Rodgers situation, I think it's he has told someone that I know now that he wants to play. And I think the Steelers understand they're going to get him back if they want to. But that's the place where you ask the head coach, the new head coach, do you want Rodgers or not? That's the only reason and the only way you handle that. Mike, do you want him? Yes, I do want him. Okay. Then you fly out there. No one even knows you go out there. You set up a deal. You know more bargains for him, and then tell him to take his time. But if Mike doesn't want him, then I think, I don't think he's going to Minnesota. I would be after Cousins.
He's Pat Kerwin. NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. Pat joining us this week on Monday and Friday, courtesy of Pinchers. Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, over a dozen locations in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Pat and all our guests joining us on the American Paint Supplies Hotline. You are a one-stop shop for all your coating needs. Free agency gets underway today, and that teams are legally allowed to talk with anyone who's a free agent in the league. Signings can begin 4 o'clock on Wednesday. More with Pat on the other side here on Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
At the Diamond District, we have that one-of-a-kind ring that she's been dreaming of.
Whether you're beginning to think about proposing or already have something in mind, we're here to help.
Our sales team listens, educates, and guides you to the perfect engagement ring so you don't have to feel intimidated.
We guarantee that whatever you're looking for, you'll find it here.
So when it's time to pop the big question, come visit us, Jason and Todd, at the Diamond District.
At the Diamond District.
This is Miller and Moulton.
What are you drinking, Mark?
Oh, yep. Sorry, Pat.
That's all right.
Taking my morning pills, 18 pills there.
Yeah, I saw you rear your head back to get them down the throat. God bless you.
One scoop. I can't just take them.
Yeah. You're looking good.
I feel good. It's a big week for me. I've got my first bone marrow biopsy on Friday, which will tell a lot, but we won't get the results back for probably 10 days. So probably about the middle of next week I should have, or middle of the following week I should have it back.
Your voice is strong.
I feel great. Went for a 3-mile walk both Saturday and Sunday.
You caught a little sun out there. I can see that.
Very little, man. I got to put a lot of crap on. I go early in the morning. That's why I get up first thing. You know, I'm used to getting up at this time, so I was out walking basically before the sun got up.
Hey, how about how dark it was this morning?
It doesn't bother me a bit. I like well, see, you're working, but Pat, this is where you can go out at 4:30 and play 18 holes. I love this.
Yeah. Well,
no one's on the course.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well, it's interesting you say it because they're changing my hours. Well, at least we'll see for the next 30 days. I told them at the end of 30 days, if you don't have this resolved with this partner crap, then maybe it's time for me to leave. But they changed my hours 3 to 6. So they took an hour off it.
Oh, good.
Happy. Oh, it's great for me. But think about 6 o'clock.
Yeah, you can go get 9 in easy.
I got a little walking bag. I can go right out the side of that building and jump on the course.
That's perfect.
Yep. And the 3 hardest holes on this course, I could just go play them over and over again.
Exactly.
So I'm kind of looking forward to that something like. And I hear guys playing now. They're all talking about being able to play till 7:30.
But the guys that play that late, some of them are playing with their wives and they goof around a little bit. Most of them are just playing fast. They're just racing around.
That's me. How quick can I play?
Exactly. That's summer golf around here. I love it.
Yep. David, how you feeling?
He doesn't have his headset on. He can't hear you.
No. Here he comes. How's your weight, Mark?
I'm about to say, I mean, all that weight I lost, which I did on purpose, I gained a bunch back. The one drug they put me on, they said it's going to slow my metabolism, but my weight's maintained. I need to probably lose 15 pounds when this crap's all over with. But in the meantime, until they tell me I need to lose some weight, I'm eating what I want right now. And I think that's more important.
Well, you got an appetite is great.
Exactly. I haven't had this much bread in 2 years.
There's a little Italian place. You probably go to it over kind of that Corkscrew. You know Marsala? You know that place?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So the Staten Island people.
Pat, I'll tell you what, there's a better place. It's even closer to you in Coconut Point, back by where the movie theater was. It's called Mama Anna's, a little small
on
joint.
The left.
Yeah.
When you're walking towards the theater on the left. We've had our March Madness draft in there.
They're from Italy, the parents that run it. And the two kids are the waiters. They do a great, food's good, pizza's terrific. They're so nice in there.
They are very nice.
That's a good spot.
Yep. I don't go there as much as Marsala, but when I go to Marsala, it's usually because I'm going to church at 3:30 in the afternoon on Saturday.
Okay.
Like the other day. So right from church over there to Marsala, then right from there to the hockey game.
Oh, perfect.
It really worked. That's how I found the place. And it was from Brindley. He told me about it.
Yep. It's a good spot. I like that place. Another place. Their server, their hosts, because I get pizza to go there a lot, and their servers are all nice. They're friendly. They do a pretty good job. I'm with you.
Yeah. So I this retired police detective, I saw him yesterday. I was telling him, he goes, and he's Italian. So I said, I always got to be careful recommending Italian restaurants to you. So he goes, well, where do you go? I told him I like going to Marsala quite a bit. And he goes, love the place.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
21 minutes past the hour. Our remaining moments with Pat Kerwin during the break. Adam Schefter took to X to say the Dolphins have made their decision on Tua final. They are going to release him post June 1st.
Yeah.
Meaning they will split the $99.2 million up. 56 to 67 million of it can be this year and the remainder next year. But Pat, the Dolphins move on from Tua. It's a painful tale. And I'm just curious, if you were the GM of a team that had a need at quarterback and or a really good backup quarterback, does he interest you?
Yes. He is interesting to me, and I don't really love the guy, but I think what you're going to pay is 1.5 or 1.3 million or some little number. So that alone, this is like the Steelers when they took advantage of the two guys that they took, Wilson and our friend Justin. So yeah, I would definitely do it, especially if you're a West Coast throwing football team. The guy's got a very accurate arm, and he hits the shallow cross as good as anybody. He's never going to run, which bothers the living daylights out of me. He won't run for a first down. We get all that stuff. But if you're a West Coast throwing team where you're pretty committed to 35 to 40 throws a game, and you're into the shallow cross world, which is the old Bill Walsh stuff, and there are plenty of coaches still doing it, yes, I would sign him. Now, I don't know if I'd sign him in a cold weather city. That'd be the next problem with him. So, or an indoor stadium place. So I think there's always a place that'll be interested in him. Oh, that's right. Minnesota has an indoor stadium.
So does Atlanta.
Detroit could do worse for a backup.
Yeah, I think he's going to want to go where he can play. And he might think he can win the job in Minnesota.
By the way, Hard Rock app, Dolphins over under 4.5. It isn't just Miller, Moulton, and Pat Kerwin telling you that the bottom has dropped out for Miami. And when we talked about that division before we had Pat on, that's what, when David said, would you be surprised if both the Jets and Dolphins aren't drafting in the top 5? We would. Yeah. All right, Pat. Obviously the Rams made a big move last week. I have the feeling that we're not done with trades. Like an A.J. Brown could get traded between now and the draft. What are you hearing about any names still being moved?
Well, the names that are going to get moved are few and far between as on malcontents or guys that you have conflict with because of their personality. But you really know that there's going to be some salary cap moves. Like guys are going to trade someone that they don't want to pay. It's usually your last year of your contract, and you've decided internally that you're not extending them. So you get down to what David will say. He'll say, well, take what you can get now. And I think that'll happen. And then we'll look at the compensation and think it wasn't very good. Then we'll remind ourselves that they weren't going to re-sign him. So if you're not going to re-sign a guy and someone offers you a fourth or a third because he's that good of a player, but you don't want him anymore, you'll see those deals. And I think we'll see a few more because you got to keep David happy. And David's only happy when there's trades. And I will say this today. I was going to call him, but I didn't think he'd take my call. Right after Crosby's announcement came was, now will there be a contract extension? Because he slipped pretty far down the old list of pass rushers. If I were them, I'd throw a bone at him and give him an extra year and change his average.
Okay. Yeah, maybe. But to be honest with you, I got you out of Vegas. You're going to play meaningful football. All right. You should be happy as a clam. How about, he's got 3+ years left on a contract? Yeah. How about we just play a year in Baltimore and then we'll see how things are going. To me, Pat, doesn't New England need to get their hands on a wide receiver? Like, Mark's talking about a trade. I mean, don't you have to call the Dolphins up about Waddle? I mean, who's somebody else? I don't know if Minnesota or Detroit can afford to keep, both of their excellent number 2 wide receivers. Do they feel they need to spend some of their money elsewhere? You're drafting 31st. I mean, I'd certainly give up a 1 for any of the receivers we just talked about and more. Don't you think New England, because you said there's no number 1 receiver in this draft. They just cut their number 1 receiver who wasn't a number 1 receiver. I mean, don't you feel the Patriots got to go get a wide receiver?
Yeah, and I think they should go get Brown. And I laugh about, I hated the coach in his notepad. He knows them. I think Mike was furious when he was traded to Philly. We all know that. The quarterback's good enough that the kid would want to go. That's the guy that changes everything on that field if New England has him on the football field. So that's the guy. I wouldn't waste my time with many others.
Well,
go get the big horse.
But there's a big cap thing, especially for Philly. Like if he's not on Philly's roster this year, Howie's got to take a big hit, which means you probably got to overpay to get him. That's probably the only thing that may keep him an Eagle is apparently the contract. So don't you think that maybe New England has to say to Howie, give us 48 hours to rework his contract? I mean, because it seems complicated, an A.J. Brown trade.
Yeah, those things can get uncomplicated pretty quickly if the agent and the player want to go to New England. They'll figure out how to help out in that one. But notice that things are starting to move on other players on the team. Are they going to move Davis, or are they going to move the other kid? They got one tackle signed to a long-term deal, and the other guys, those things don't happen by accident. Oh, they're taking trade calls. Okay. Howie knows exactly how to set up a for sale deal. So
All right,
I think he'll move.
Talk to me about Cincinnati, Pat, because we know how much they've got invested in the quarterback and the two receivers, but they've got a lot of space on the cap. They've got a bad defense. Their offensive line, I think, is below average. We know that they're cheap, but they have some money heading into free agency. And as David and I were talking about just before we had you on, Pittsburgh's on the downslide. They are. Cleveland's a mess. You know, Cincinnati has an opportunity to get back into the playoffs if they spend their offseason doing the right things. What are the right things to you?
Well, the defensive free agent market is loaded with guys over 30, so that does not excite me as it relates to the Bengals. I'd go after the two Kansas City defensive backs, and I do think the guys up front, this is the year to draft those guys like crazy. They could draft 5 defensive players in a row, and I would think they did a great job. But there are 2 good-looking guys. There's a couple of linebackers. You know, go get Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean, all the guys that are profiled in their 20s, even Leo Chanel. Go get 2 or 3 of those guys and go to get the upfront guys in the draft. And I'm talking about fully committing to it. So if you got at least one of the Kansas City defensive backs, they got a corner and a safety, get one of those guys, get both of them. Get 3 of the linebackers in their 20s and go get the front in the draft and make a wholesale effort to fix the defense. And I heard, Mark, you say earlier when I was waiting to come on, and you're right, their offensive line's not very good, but you're going to have to live with your offensive line. The quarterback will negotiate that because we can't stop the bleeding on defense. I don't know. If they're capable of scoring 28 points and the defense is significantly better, I always cite the Rams. They went and got 3 rookies, put them on the field, and they got better on defense. That's what the Bengals have to do.
And there have been many stories in league history in which teams just drafted one side of the ball, and it worked out really well, really quickly. He's Pat Kerwin, NFL Radio's Moving the Chains, CBS's NFL Today show. He joins us twice a week, most of the year, courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, all points in between. Pinchers, where you can't fake fresh. Jason Carmello will talk bracketology next. The fun is happening now at the Southwest Florida Ag Expo. Bring the whole family. Thrilling midway rides, delicious fair food, good old-fashioned Florida fun. Experience agriculture up close. Meet the farm animals. Celebrate a community's roots. Live entertainment, family activities all day long. All under one roof at the Mike Greenwell Regional Park, formerly the Lee County Civic Center. Get details and daily schedules at swflagexpo.com. That's swflagexpo.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. FloorMeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I think they all go to the Final Four, Javier. But UConn got Florida once. They're going to be in the same bracket more than likely. How about both the Hurleys getting teased at the same time and it was on a split screen?
Yep. Great
God,
job.
that's money.
Great job by Fox. By the way, Danny Hurley should be suspended for the Big East tournament. He made clear contact with that official. Okay. He
Good morning,
definitely.
Jason.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Thanks for doing this again.
Oh, yeah. I was excited for it. Especially when you lay out a path for Florida and then it happens. So
right.
Oh, I just want to finish. And I love Hurley, but you can't make contact with an official. Okay. He should have been suspended, whether it's the whole Big East tournament or a game of it, something. Okay. You can't do that. And he made contact with that official. That to say he didn't is crap.
I think Fears should be suspended too.
I agree. I'm a Michigan State alum. That's my team. He is dirty. He's flat out dirty. It makes me sick. And Izzo defending him after the game, that's a bunch of horse crap.
I mean, you got to own it at this point. Like it's
he kicked the guy in the nuts. I don't know what to say. I mean, it was painfully. I mean, we've got the video. It's right there.
Well, also, isn't that like his third incident this year?
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
He had the bad trip, and then he had another kick to the groin.
Yep, he got the guy for the Gophers.
Yeah, and that was after he tripped the guy from Michigan. It was like back-to-back games, if I think that's right. I mean,
yep.
Yep. I will say when he comes out of the game, because I can't think the guy had the long name. He got hurt. His transfer, he wore 99. He could play a little bit of point. When they lost him and they got to put in that little white kid, it's 4-on-5. He can't play.
Yeah. Yeah, they spent their money on just a handful of guys. They're not very deep.
No.
So. And their bigs are only able to do what they do because he facilitates it. Their bigs are very limited with what they can do athletically.
Right. They can't. There's no dribble drive. There's, it's either get it in the post and make a quick shot, or they can both shoot, which is nice.
Yeah.
But you're right. Without Fears facilitate, and when Fears isn't out there, you can play defense very differently. That's why he plays 38 minutes.
They were a few points away from potentially a 1 seed. Them and Florida would have pretty similar resumes if they would have won yesterday, but they didn't.
Well, the guy on JDR in our chat room there, the guy at Oklahoma City he's dirty. I mean, he's trying to injure everybody out there.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton. Text the guys what's in your mind at 21,000. That's 21000. And now, here's David Moulton.
22 minutes to the top of the hour. Our next guest made the fatal mistake that guests on this show have made over the years. He was just trying to be polite last week, but he said, "No, guys, call me anytime." Jason Carmello, we are not a big boy show, okay? When you offer a little boy show, a terrific guest, anytime we call, we're going to call. So when you're done 15 minutes from now, be careful with what you say, all right?
Oh, I'm happy to be back. Thanks for having me.
Jason
Well, we
Carmello.
talked about it last week. Can
That's
the
right.
Gators get a 1 seed? And sure enough, UConn loses a game they shouldn't lose. The Gators go to Kentucky and do what they've been doing for what seems like a month now of just running roughshod through the SEC. As of this morning, the Gators are a 1 seed, right, Jason?
Absolutely. Yeah, they've taken the fourth 1 seed. And I got to be honest, as you kind of scrub these numbers and scrub the teams, I don't think they're giving it back, because the path for Florida, they're going to play either Kentucky or Missouri in the quarterfinals. And even at worst, if they lose, let's say they lose to Kentucky, which I doubt they do on neutral court, but maybe they do, that's still not a bad loss. And comparatively, with UConn losing home to Creighton and then at Marquette, the NCAA tournament committee has been steadfast over the years, and you guys know this. They've been steadfast. They reward regular season conference winners with 1 seeds. That's what Florida is. I think Florida takes it. Remember, UConn did not win the Big East. St. John's won it outright. UConn didn't. Florida's a 1 seed going to the NCAA tournament.
Jason Carmello. All right. The Big Underdog blog. The Big Underdog blog. He also is part of Bustin' Brackets. Follow him on X, Big Underdog blog. All right. Saturday was the day that we will quote as to why this tournament should never expand, when I guess there were 12 teams that most of you bracketologists had as last 4 in, first 4 out, next 4 out. And of those 12, 9 of them were in action, and all 9 lost. So did anything change, or were there certain losses that were worse than others? Like SMU, not just losing at Florida State, they got whacked at Florida State. I mean, at what point does a certain loss of the 9 affect you more than someone else?
Yeah, really good question. So, Santa Clara sat the whole weekend off, right, getting ready to play Sunday night, and they won in the West Coast Conference, and they just looked around and there was just shrapnel everywhere. Then you take a team like Ohio State, which was in the field, took care of business at home against Indiana, who's clearly on the bubble. And by winning that game, Ohio State is thrusted probably on the front line of the 10 seed, heck, maybe the back of the 9 seed. I mean, they just have ascended up the seed line, which is taking care of business at home against a bubble team. And so everything, like you said, everything just kind of fell apart on the bubble. I will say this, that there are some really bad losses. Virginia Tech was game. They were right there with Virginia the whole way. And Mike Young's really upset because he wants to get in. New Mexico's kind of hanging in there. They were game against Utah State. Let me say this as peace of mind to everybody in terms of expansion. There's going to be a couple bid thieves. And those bid thieves are going to knock out the back couple teams in the NCAA tournament. You're probably going to get a team like Akron or maybe Kent State winning the MAC. We talked about a little bit last week. So Miami, Ohio is going to make it. And then someone else other than Utah State's probably winning the Mountain West. So some of these teams will probably kind of weed themselves out and not make the tournament. For those of you who've been watching Florida State play, they've been playing really good basketball. On some of the metrics and, Bart Torvik's metric over the last month, Florida State's in the top 30. They've been playing really good basketball. SMU was not going to win that game, right? SMU is leaking oil. And so the Florida State loss is not unexpected for those of us really keeping track of it. A team like Indiana has they're 2-10 in quad ones. They have 3 wins in quad 2. They're 5-15 in quads 1 and 2, and they're right on the bubble line. It's crazy.
Okay. The conference tournaments, Jason, may not count for the Floridas of the world, but I'm wondering, since the whole bubble is shaky, okay, if Indiana beats Purdue in the Big Ten tournament, will that count? Can some of these bubble teams play their way in the conference tournaments, or has the die been cast for them also?
I think those Wednesday, Thursday games are going to have to count because there's so much, it's so much mess. It's so messy on the bubble. So I think they're going to have to count. Typically, games Friday and on do not count for the NCAA tournament game. They don't count for NCAA tournament seedings. The committee just says, of course they do, but the brackets that I create Thursday and Friday are typically much more accurate than what's created on what I kind of mold it to on Sunday, because the committee shuts it down. So they're going to have to count. I think in Indiana, like you said, in Indiana, Virginia Tech, even Oklahoma. We're talking about Cincinnati and Oklahoma potentially making the NCAA tournament. I mean, those teams were 4 games under 500 3 weeks ago.
What about the A10? What if someone other than St. Louis or VCU wins it? Let's just say somehow Dayton gets to the final and wins it. Can the A10 get 3?
Wow. If VCU, I think okay, so let's go through it. Really good question. Dayton, let's say Dayton beats St. Louis, which they did the other day, right? Let's say Dayton beats St. Louis. VCU is going to have to beat St. Joseph's, right, and get to the finals.
Right.
If VCU loses by a bucket in the A10 finals, there's a path. There's a path to a 310 because again, it's in the big picture. It's all the other teams. So if Indiana gets beat, right, Indiana's probably not going to beat Purdue. If Indiana gets beat and Virginia Tech gets beat, no one wins. It's kind of like this past weekend. Yeah, there is a path towards a 3-bid A10. I think the Mountain West is going to get 2 teams. I think someone's going to beat Utah State. And I think Akron, like I said, I'm steadfast. I think Akron or another team is going to beat Miami of Ohio.
Miller and Moulton, talking brackets with Jason Carmello, bigunderdogblog.com. Big Underdog blog. Mark and I were a little bummed this morning because we were counting on the Navies, the UNC Wilmingtons of the world, good teams, 24, 25, 26 wins, 1 and 2 seeds in some of these conference tournaments. Yeah, they all got shredded over the weekend or lost on 40-footers at the buzzer. And I'm just wondering that not only does the 11-12 line look soft this year, but Jason, I'm not so sure how many good 13s and 14s are left.
I give you guys credit. You guys know your stuff. I mean, you're grinding away with Navy and everything. This is impressive. It's sad, right? As you put together a bracket and you kind of move these teams around all season, a team like Navy won their league. They won the Patriot League by 6 games. A lot of these conferences have to reevaluate it. They've got to get their conference champion throughout the regular season a bye in the semifinals. I understand it's March Madness, but making these teams play a quarterfinal game, for example, Belmont lost 1 game in February. They played a Drake team, a 9 seed in Missouri Valley. Drake did not win a game in February. Well, Drake shot the ball well. Belmont couldn't make anything. Belmont goes home. You've got to give, I think, a larger advantage to these 1 seed teams within the conferences so they can be a stronger representative for your conference. With that said, there's still some teams. I'm going to give you hope, David. I'm going to give you hope.
Okay.
Belmont didn't make it. I went and watched some of those Missouri Valley games over the weekend. Northern Iowa has the 22nd best defense in the country. And so they lock everybody down. And Jacobson's team, they play very, very hard. When they make shots, they are a handful. Northern Iowa is a very solid representative. They were actually the favorite to win the league before in the preseason. So take Northern Iowa maybe. And then North Dakota State. They played a very slow pace. That's the thing. That's the thing with like a Yale we talked about last week. A North Dakota State who won the Summit League last night. When teams slow the pace down and they can make a lot of threes, and they have experienced guards, check. That's the recipe for an upset. So the Bison of North Dakota State and the Panthers of Northern Iowa. Northern Iowa is probably in that 12 seed, maybe back of 12. And North Dakota State, probably the 13 seed. We'll go with that. Troy beat San Diego State. Troy's trying to get in. They got to beat Georgia Southern tonight to get in. Georgia Southern's playing their 6th game in 6 days. Troy has a chance to do it. They beat San Diego State earlier in the season at San Diego State.
And High Point, another team that's won a lot of games this year that I think can be decent. They got through their conference tournament. All right. I'm a Michigan State grad, so I pay attention to the Big Ten. I know Michigan State and Illinois, if everything goes right, can get to an Elite 8 game, and then you only have to win 1. But David and I were talking earlier in the show, to us, the team in Michigan's obviously the class of the league. We get that. But outside of that, the team that we don't want to see in the tournament is Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Because you look, they won at Michigan. They won, I believe, at Illinois. They beat Purdue. They beat Michigan State. I mean, they've beaten good teams. When they shoot it, they're really dangerous, Jason.
Fantastic point. They're absolutely scary. In all the years I've been doing this, I don't know, to your point, Mark, I don't know if I've ever evaluated a team that won 3 road games like they have. Like you said, at Michigan, at Purdue, and at Illinois. I mean, that's just a fantastic resume. And that, to be honest, Ohio State holding serve at home against Wisconsin got Ohio State in the NCAA tournament because they beat road Wisconsin. Like you said, Mark, the issue with Wisconsin and against a team like Florida is they're going to shoot 35 threes. Going into the game, they're shooting 35 threes. So if they make 15 to 18 threes, you get beat. You can't get the math to work. And that's what's been so dynamic. That's what they did at Purdue. And you say, well, they can't make that many threes. Yeah, like they can. They do it all the time. Each time I watch Michigan, I say, how in the world do they lose? Right? They have all the parts and pieces. Michigan State played very well yesterday at times. Michigan was just too strong. Wisconsin's really, really dangerous.
Curious, what's your 2 line? Okay, if the 1 line is Duke, Arizona, Michigan, Florida, in whatever order. Okay, curious, are you putting Big 10 teams on the 2 line or Big 12 teams on the 2 line?
So my 2 line starts with Houston. Houston hasn't stumbled against any team outside of Quadrant 1 all year. All of the metrics have them pushed up, right up on the 5 team in the country. So I go Houston, I go UConn, I go Michigan State, and I go Illinois.
Okay.
And because Houston is going to sit between Florida, right at the back of the 1 line, then because Houston is a buffer to UConn, UConn's not catching Florida. Florida's a 1 seed. Not just now. Florida is going to get a 1 seed on Sunday. I really, really believe that because of that Houston buffer too. They got to leapfrog multiple teams now. And again, they didn't win their regular season title. I think Michigan State's going to be a 2, regardless of what happens. I think the last 2 is Illinois. I think it could go to a Nebraska. It could go to an Iowa State. I don't think Bama can quite get there. So Houston, UConn, Michigan State will be 2 seeds on Sunday. It's whether Illinois can kind of hang on against a team like Iowa State or maybe even Nebraska.
You made a really compelling case for Auburn when we had you on last, but you also pointed out nobody that's lost 16 games has made the tournament. Well, they have to win the SEC for that not to happen. And they got whacked pretty good against Alabama. Yes, they did win at Florida. Yes, they've beaten a bunch of quad 1 teams. Where's Auburn right now?
I have Auburn as like my 4th team out. I don't think they can get there. They had to beat Alabama. I don't think the NCAA tournament selection committee wants to set a precedent of 16 losses. Because again, once they set this precedent, then they have to kind of keep going back to it and evaluating it. Of course, Auburn has the 3rd best strength of schedule in the country, but you have to reward winning games. Right? You have to reward that. I also think there's so much consternation right now over these last few teams. I encourage everybody, deep breath. A couple of these teams aren't making it. The bid thieves are coming. We talked about the Atlantic 10 or maybe some of these other conferences. I don't think there's much of a path for Auburn because of not only the 16 losses, but also there's bid thieves coming. I just don't think there's a path anymore. They'd have to win 3 games in the SEC tournament. But then again, you get partial credit for those wins like we've talked about previously. I just don't think there's a path for Auburn. I don't think the committee wants to set that precedent.
So right now, your bracket, Auburn, Indiana, out.
I have Indiana as my last team in.
Ooh.
And then Stanford, crazy. Like this is crazy talk. Stanford as the first team out, then Virginia Tech, New Mexico, and Oklahoma. Oklahoma's 3 games over 500. You at least got to get about that to be part of the conversation. And then Auburn sits right after that.
Wow.
So Stanford, Virginia Tech, New Mexico, and Oklahoma, followed by Auburn on the outside looking in. The last team's really difficult. My last 4 in the tournament right now are SMU, Santa Clara, VCU, and I gave it to Indiana for now, but that last spot is kind of fool's gold.
So I hope you're right with those last 2 with Santa Clara and VCU, because they don't like to reward the little guy very much.
Santa Clara, independent of bid thieves, they may have made the initial pass of the NCAA tournament yesterday with their win. They're going to play in the semifinals tonight. I think even with a loss, they'll stay in the bracket.
Jason Carmello, Big Underdog Blog, busting brackets. Follow him on X at Big Underdog Blog. Jason, going to be a busy week for you. Hopefully we can catch up soon. Miller and Moulton.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with greater success than the mask. Visit sleeptreatmentdirect.com. That's sleeptreatmentdirect.com. And if you are like me and your CPAP machine isn't working for you, it's time for a change. Call 239-444-1741. That's 239-444-1741. Sleep Treatment Direct. Sleep safe and sound.
The Cape Coral Police Department is growing, and they want you to be a part of it. They're hiring new officers. Starting pay between $74,000 and $90,000, depending on your experience. And with a $10,000 hiring bonus, you could be making $100,000. Enjoy paid holidays, off-duty details, plenty of OT opportunities. They're also hiring dispatchers and professional staff. So go to capecops.com. Capecops.com. Be brave, be best, be Cape. The fun is happening now at the Southwest Florida Ag Expo. Bring the whole family. Thrilling midway rides, delicious fair food, good old-fashioned Florida fun. Experience agriculture up close. Meet the farm animals. Celebrate a community's roots. Live entertainment, family activities all day long, all under one roof at the Mike Greenwell Regional Park, formerly the Lee County Civic Center. Get details and daily schedules at swflagexpo.com. That's swflagexpo.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, Joseph, I may even have to go with a pretty chalk bracket this year. Excuse me. Jeez.
I will say that was pretty cool, Tatum coming back, Deadstroke. I just watched basically the starting five. And it was cool. It really was. And then instead of shooting the shot, threw a great alley-oop, and that was about it for me after the first quarter because the NBA sucks. I've tried.
It's a bad product.
It
It is. I'm sorry.
No, I don't even know how much I like the product when they're all playing because of the style. But regular season, it is damn near unwatchable. I laughed. I've got a friend. He texted me from the Heat game yesterday. He takes clients once a year to a Heat game, and he's the giant Nebraska fan I've referenced on the show. And I'm like, you're at the Heat game right now, not watching Nebraska and Iowa? He goes, let's just say I'm checking the phone regularly.
Listen, Cowherd said it a couple of weeks ago. It's boring. I'm sorry. The regular season NBA, the product is boring. Never mind how many of these games
And
are
I guess,
uncompetitive.
I remember watching.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, coming at you from the Floor Meister Studios. Floor Meisters, keeping it real. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Fourth and final hour of Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Thanks for being with us. It's the Diamond District bonus hour here on Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com, Miller_Moulton on X. Our only poll question of the day concerns daylight savings time. And do you want to keep it or do you want to get rid of it? That's it. That's all we got today.
I can tell when David just thinks it's an question. He is not supportive of this question, and that's okay. They're not all good. I probably should have put a Max Crosby question on there. That would have made him happier, and that is the job of the two hosts, to try to make the other guy happy as much as you can.
Yep.
And I can tell that he's not referenced it much, and that you could just hear the way he delivered it. It was like, yeah, Miller put this up, and it bores the you-know-what out of me.
But if you're interested, please vote. Yeah, do that. But it's not every day, Mark, that, you can ask flavor, potato chip. I mean, those days are, once a year, once every 2 years. So, you can't have it every day. And I have no idea if today is a national whatever day.
There was nothing there. I looked, there was a couple of stupid things. I mean, every day has like 7 different things.
I know.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
It's kind of like the bubble this year in the NCAA tournament. It's like, seriously, really? Come on. We can't consider that.
I'll tell you, and I don't feel sorry for this team very often because I lived in this state and their fans annoyed the ever-living bejibbers out of me. But North Carolina losing their guard for the year, they were playing pretty well.
Yep.
This was a 5 seed that was dangerous.
Yep.
I want as many good teams in the tournament as humanly possible. And North Carolina went from being a pretty salty team to a team now that has no shot of getting to a Final Four. To me, no shot of getting to an Elite Eight. And that's disappointing because they were that team prior to that injury.
And I think now even getting to a Sweet 16, they'll have to win a game they're not expected to win, where you're right. North Carolina was going to be on the 4 or the 5 line. Okay, and you thought if they got to the Sweet 16 that a 1 seed would turn around and see North Carolina. And it's like, well, that ain't your run-of-the-mill Sweet 16 game. Damn.
By the way, speaking of North Carolina, and I don't know if you've read any of the articles on this, and I know we're not in North Carolina, and none of you may care. But there's been a lot of talk here in the last month about what they're going to do with basketball going forward.
With
the
the
Dean
Dean?
Dome is old.
Yep.
The Dean Dome, in order to refurbish it, would cost a ton of money. And they would have to move somewhere for a couple of years while the Dean Dome was refurbished.
Correct.
They have a plot of land. It's 3.5 miles from campus.
North. Right.
Whatever direction, but it's 3.5 miles from campus. And was it Dunleavy? One of the former players was with another former player. And they said, let's drive there. And they got a mile into the drive. And I think it was Dunleavy. And he looked at whoever the passenger was and went, this is too far. No one will walk here. Now they have another plot of land they just tore something down. I guess it was like married housing. It's pretty close to where the Dean Dome is. That's where it should go. If it doesn't go there, this to me is telling you what's happening with college athletics, because the reason they want to move it 3.5 miles from campus is, well, money, of course, but it's like where the Braves play. They can develop all around it, and there's money to be made from developing all around it. Now, where the married housing is, that was torn down, had nothing to do with the Dean Dome. It was time for this area to go. They'll still make a ton of money. They'll still able to put the suites in and give preferred seating that gets cost a lot of money, because apparently at the Dean Dome, if you got great seats, you were locked into a price forever. They can't raise the prices.
Nope.
And I get in today's college athletics. Like, I actually give Michigan credit. They play in Chrysler. Chrysler's been there forever. They had to redo Chrysler. Chrysler was not a tough place to play. If you watched any of Michigan State, behind both benches, it's all students. It never used to be all students. It used to be rich alumni. They had to change what they were doing for students to make that a tougher place to play. And when they refurbished it, they did it. So I give them all the credit in the world. But 3.5 miles away, and I bring this up, David, because I'm on USF's campus. What are they doing right now? They're building an on-campus football stadium.
Yep.
I got up Saturday morning, actually Sunday morning, and I went for a walk. And I walked around the Yuengling Center, and I walked by where the new football stadium is, where the baseball stadium is. It's right by a ton of university housing, on-campus housing. It's going to be easy for these kids to get to football games. The difference that's going to make it, made it at UCF. The difference it's going to make at South Florida on game day, I don't think you can really put a perspective on it until they open that facility, because they play at Ray J. That's 20 minutes away without traffic. And I mean, even if all the kids have cars, well, we live in a world, thank goodness, where people don't drink and drive the way they used to. Kids can rip it up, tailgate, have fun. And you know what they do? They walk back to their damn dorm room, or they walk back to their apartments, which are right across the street from, where there's a lot of off-campus housing, very close to that football stadium. And if the Dean Dome moves 3.5 miles from campus, that's a terrible look, David. It really and truly is. And it shows us where we're going in college athletics. And I hope to goodness that they're able, and look, the Dean Dome's outdated. I don't think they should refurbish it. This area of land that they have, that they're tearing down, what was former married housing, seems to make the most sense. It's just a little story I'm paying attention to.
So to refurbish the Dean Dome is roughly $600 million. But as Mark said, they need to find a place to play for at least 2 years. That's a problem. If they build 3.5 miles away, everybody hates it. Nobody's in favor of it except the money people at the university. They apparently were going to slide this through without talking to anybody. They bought the land. This is what they were going to do. Apparently, the project's going to cost about $750 million, but they're going to have a state-of-the-art arena with suites galore, never mind all the money they can make around the arena. But it's exactly what University of North Carolina basketball has not been, whether it was Carmichael Arena or the Dean Dome. you could walk to it. Okay, it's what the University of North Carolina basketball has always been on campus. By the way, a gorgeous campus.
Gorgeous. I mean, it's
campus.
got, if it's not top 10, it's certainly top 20 in the nation. It is absolutely beautiful.
Don't know how it can't be top 10. Honestly, I'd make Pepperdine. I'll put Pepperdine's ahead of it. Okay, but
you know, there's
a
lot of stuff out west that's beautiful, but it is, you know,
It's
for
amazing.
ACC, SEC, Big Ten, it is unbelievable.
The trees loaded with trees. It's amazing. The huge buildings that you like don't even see until you're like literally driving next to. Okay, because of all the trees and it covers it. It's a gorgeous campus, and it's been a big part of North Carolina basketball that you can walk to it from your dorm, wherever you are on campus. You could walk to the basketball games, and you can't to the place where they want to put it 3.5 miles north. Now, it looks as if that has been corralled for now. That enough. I mean, there's nobody who has anything to do with North Carolina basketball who is for that location. You know, the Roy Williams of the world want to save the Dean Dome. Okay, because it doesn't have any suites. I mean, there's a lot of money they're not making for as
and like
big
I mentioned,
arena
the seats
as
too.
it is.
The seats. I mean, you know, this buying your seat in perpetuity that they can't raise prices on you. I mean, they are losing lots of money.
Because I think the building's 30 years old. So literally you're locked in at mid-90s pricing. And there's a lot, thousands of season ticket holders are locked in at mid-90s pricing. So there's a lot, no suites of any kind. There's a lot of money, even though the building's huge, there's a lot of money they're not making on North Carolina basketball that they want to be making. I think, Mark, the compromise is it's like a half, 3/4 of a mile from the Dean Dome.
Oh yeah, it's close. But it's on campus.
Exactly. And I think that's the compromise. So they'll probably end up doing it there. The project will take 2-3 years to build. They can still play at the Dean Dome. Goodness knows what they do with the Dean Dome afterwards. But then they can build their arena, change their pricing, get their suites, make more money. It's still on campus. People can walk to it. But this is a major thing. Major thing. I mean, right now, this is a bigger deal than whether or not Hubert Davis should remain as coach. And believe me, that's becoming a thing.
By the way, the Dean Dome opened 1986, David.
Oh, my goodness. I thought
it's
it was
40 years old.
It's 40
years old.
Mid-80s pricing.
Right.
Wow. Remember the old Carmichael and they had the manual scorekeep in the corner? Okay, that's where you saw the game in the corner. Okay. It's kind of like the scoreboard at Wrigley and Fenway. It was so funny that this was esteemed North Carolina basketball and they were keeping score in the corners on the floor by hand. But yeah,
but just one of those stories, because to me, this is about the fabric of college athletics, David. And yes. you know, when you read the articles, they talk about people in their 80s walking next to students to games, and it's a big deal to them, not just to the student, but to the 80-year-old that may have gone there in the 60s or whatever the case may be.
Yep. This is the feeling they have going to the games, and they want to keep it. And they know that all the tradition, all the history that they've built up with North Carolina basketball gets absolutely destroyed if they go to that parcel of land 3.5 miles away. Destroyed.
And yes, college athletics is not the same. We get it. NIL, transfers. But there are some things that have to stay. You know, I've never been, you have. This is like telling Old Miss they don't have the Grove anymore.
Right.
You know, Gator fan, not being on campus. You all have your team that you love and the thing you love about your team. And what they're trying to take away at North Carolina is, quite frankly, the fabric of college sports. Miller and Moulton.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie John and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floor Meisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floor Meisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floor Meisters backs their installer, so if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floor Meisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floor Meisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floor Meisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
At the Diamond District, we have that one-of-a-kind ring that she's been dreaming of.
Whether you're beginning to think about proposing or already have something in mind, we're here to help.
Our sales team listens, educates, and guides you to the perfect engagement ring so you don't have to feel intimidated.
We guarantee that whatever you're looking for, you'll find it here.
So when it's time to pop the big question, come visit us, Jason and Todd, at the Diamond District.
At the Diamond District.
This is Miller and Moulton.
Yeah, our mics are always hot. Now, if they're hot we're not on the radio locally. These mics are always on, guys. We can't turn them off, and we don't turn them off. They're not hot over the satellite dish. That's sending our feed out to radio stations and the like. On YouTube and Twitch, our mics are always hot. We know. Thank you. Well, you know what, Paul? Paula, that's Busch Gardens, I think, is great, Paula. One, way more affordable than that hellhole in Orlando. I don't know how old they are, so I would check the website to make sure what they can and can't ride. But, I'm a roller coaster guy. Busch Gardens roller coasters are fantastic. Fantastic. The thing with the animals is terrific. I mean, they're all expensive, but I think Busch Gardens is probably the most affordable. You're probably 3 miles from where I am at Busch Gardens. There's a Moffett right next to it, but I'm not at that Moffett. Well, I'm no longer at Moffett, but I'm not next to that Moffett. I'm next to the one on campus. No, I got you, but I mean, I just think Disney's outrageous. Yeah, you couldn't. I mean, to me, Disney's like going to Walmart, and I'd rather go to Walmart. Miller and Moulton, the Diamond District bonus hour. We've been talking about a few things today. We've been talking a little football, a little brackets. Pat Kerwin joined us on the show. Talked with Jason Carmello about the brackets. He's dialed in as well as anybody we've ever had on this show as to what's going on. Talked a little college basketball inside, if you will, about what's going on in North Carolina. But a lot of our audience, David, and I'm not there. I just am not there, is into the World Baseball Classic. Maybe as we get to the semifinals, I'll get there. Most of these games, and I know you described what was ever Nicaragua losing to the Netherlands. I know that was a close game, but most of these games, particularly with the big boys, have been blowouts. So I'm not there. There's too many other things this time of year that are capturing my attention, whether it was golf on Sunday, which was terrific, whether the hockey that's going on that I'm obviously very into, and the college hoop, the small tournament games, and a couple of big boy games over the weekend that were pretty solid as well. Okay. But I'm not there with the World Baseball Classic.
And that's fine. How about tonight? There's no big conference basketball of any kind. They're all getting ready for their conference tournaments. None of them start till tomorrow at the earliest. Okay. You've got 2 bids up for grabs tonight, the Sun Belt and SoCon. Okay. Meanwhile, at 8:00 on Fox, you've got the USA and Mexico in baseball. Key game. They're both undefeated in the same group, and there's 3 undefeateds in the group. So USA has to win one of their next 2 games against Mexico or Italy. They lose them both, I don't think they advance, but they got to win them both. USA, Mexico, and Houston on Big Fox.
You know what I'm most interested in this game? Who the crowd's rooting for. I'm not kidding. The game's in Houston. Obviously, right? Huge Mexican population in Texas and in Houston, obviously. Yep. So who's the crowd rooting for? Is it a 50-50 game? When they play soccer at venues like this, it's usually 70-30 Mexico.
Yep, that's true. Skeens pitching for Team USA tonight. Now, it's not June, July. They're not in shape to go 7+ innings, but Skeens pitching for Team USA tonight.
But these could be the most meaningful games Skeens pitches all year.
Unfortunately, we're hopeful it's not the case this year.
And it's a lousy NHL schedule tonight. It is. The most important game to me, because of the team I'm following, is being played at 4 p.m. when Columbus plays. So, and Washington plays Calgary. So there's not a lot in terms of what I'm interested in the NHL going on tonight.
Okay. So I'm just curious, though. USA, Mexico, Skeens on the hill for the red, white, and blue. All right. Put it this way. Say he throws 4 innings. Can they grab you for those 4 innings? That'd keep you from like 8-ish till maybe 9:30.
It's possible. I'm watching different shows during my time away from home. Mom and I got into Mad Men. It's the show I never watched. I figured it was safe enough because it was on network TV. There's a lot of shows, I realize there's a lot of shows that even, me being in my mid-50s and my mom being over 80, there's still shows I'm uncomfortable watching with Mom.
I understand.
I've been watching The Sopranos. And she goes, you can watch it. And I looked at her. I said, no, Mom, actually, I can't.
Yeah.
There's at least one scene every show that I'd be uncomfortable while you're in the room. And none of them have to do with killing anybody.
Right.
So it would be between Mad Men and USA Mexico. And I don't know what will win.
Well, just throwing it out there as a possibility. I know it's a little early in the tournament. You're pretty much said you'd probably start tuning in around the semis. Just saying, we got to get to the semis. And here we go tonight. I did find it very interesting that Tariq Skubal, who was absolutely adamant he was only going to pitch once for Team USA. That was it. And for whatever reason, Team USA decided the game he was going to pitch was against Great Britain, and that was on Friday. And Skubal pitched 3 innings. First pitch of the game got taken deep. After that, he only gave up 1 hit in the remaining 3 innings. U.S. got a couple of big homers. They won 9-1 over Great Britain, blah, blah, blah. But that's it for Skubal. He's going back to Lakeland, and he's going to resume spring training with the Tigers. And after the game, Skubal was like, yeah, I'm going to call Scott Boras, and I'm going to call the Tigers. And, yeah, I ain't leaving. This was a lot more emotional. This was a lot bigger deal than I thought it was going to be. And, yeah, I know I'm in a contract year, and I know what I said previously, but this is bigger than getting ready for a season. This is a BFD.
How big do you think that is for the World Baseball Classic? I mean, he's one of the 2 best pitchers in the game. For him to make a about face after throwing 3 innings against Great Britain.
Right.
Mm-hmm. How big do you think this is for the World Baseball Classic?
Huge. I think it's huge. I don't think people – it's funny. In other sports, for whatever reason, they seem to know what it means, or they think they know what it means to wear the uniform. But because they don't take the WBC seriously, they don't view Aaron Judge putting on the Team USA uniform as a big deal. Aaron Judge has said, outside of playing in the World Series with the Yankees, this is the most meaningful thing I've done on a baseball field.
And he really expressed that in the speech that he gave.
But, I don't know what more people want from these guys. Okay, they want to play in the Olympics. They're saying it out loud. They're saying, I know we got a lot of things and we hate each other and you guys are going to lock us out. And I don't even know if we're going to have baseball next year. And you want to do a salary cap and we say cold day in hell. And I got it. But there's other issues to negotiate here. Can we negotiate the 2028 season? I mean, the players are out loud saying, screw the All-Star game. Forget it already. Can we play this? Can we do the Olympics? Especially, it's in the United States. I mean, this is a marketing opportunity of a generation for Major League Baseball.
100%. And I love that the players have taken that direction. And I do think, a lot of these guys now, the athletes know one another in other sports maybe more than they ever have. I think the Olympic hockey, I don't want to say turned the baseball player. It made the baseball player more vocal. Do you think that's a fair estimation?
I think they're jealous in a good way. I think they're like, God, I would love that opportunity. Do you think there's any way that we could play in the Olympics? And it turns out there is. Well, then, damn it, we need to do it. Now, the funny thing is, Manfred's on the player side. There's like no owners that want to do it. Okay.
And in order for it to happen, the players are going to have to give something up, David, in these negotiations. And I think they will.
Yes.
Not a salary cap, but you know what I mean? Something else little that the owners want.
Yeah. It'll probably, it'll be financial in some way, probably. But the irony of irony, the players hate Manfred, but they desperately want to play in the Olympics, and Manfred wants them to.
I did laugh, David, over the weekend, the new MLBPA president, when asked, fans want a salary cap. Here are the numbers. His answer was, well, 20 years ago, even more of them wanted it. So they're coming around to our way of thinking. Okay.
I think he also quoted a few franchises and a few other sports and said, how's that salary cap working out for them? Okay. Enough already. Good, bad, and ugly. What's on tap? Today was the day when. It's all coming up. Miller and Moulton. The fun is happening now at the Southwest Florida Ag Expo. Bring the whole family. Thrilling midway rides, delicious fair food, good old-fashioned Florida fun. Experience agriculture up close. Meet the farm animals. Celebrate a community's roots. Live entertainment, family activities all day long. All under one roof at the Mike Greenwell Regional Park, formerly the Lee County Civic Center. Get details and daily schedules at swflagexpo.com. That's swflagexpo.com.
Your roof is your home's first line of defense. At Pelican Roofing of Florida, Ronnie, John, and their team bring years of experience to protect what matters most, your family and your business. From residential repairs to large-scale commercial roofing, we deliver honest work, fair pricing, and quality you can trust. An upgrade on your roof can lower your insurance costs. Don't wait for a leak to turn into a disaster. Call the experts at Pelican Roofing today. 1-866-9-PELICAN. That's 1-866-9-PELICAN. Online at pelicanroofingcompany.com. CCC 1332512.
Let's talk the big differences between Floormeisters and the big box store that sells flooring. Floormeisters is family owned. They do flooring, not doors, nuts and bolts, or weed killer. They specialize in it. They know it. Floormeisters backs their installer. So if there's ever an issue, good chance the boss, TJ, will come out and make it right. Floormeisters prices beat the box stores every day of the week. When you think flooring, think Floormeisters in Naples. Floormeisters.com. Real people, real prices, real quality selection. The Floormeisters, just keeping it real.
American Paint Supplies, for nearly 30 years, is your one-stop shop for all your coating needs. If you are a designer, a contractor, a professional painter, or a weekend warrior, American Paint Supplies is the place where experts go to get expert solutions. At 6100 Shirley Street in Naples off of Pine Ridge, American Paint Supplies delivers the best solutions with the best products with the best support. Meet Gene and his team today at American Paint Supplies. Call 239-566-2700. That's 566-2700 or online at AmericanPaintSupplies.net.
This is Miller and Moulton.
I know people pop up in and out, Stove Up, but we've been saying that all last week. We are not on from 9 to 10 in the Fort Myers Naples market. That is their decision, obviously.
Sorry, by the way, the rejoiner didn't fire last time. I don't know why.
All right. Hopefully I'll be in charge of all of that here very soon.
So you've got all the beds for the features coming up, right?
I do.
Yeah, Mark, we're going to need a minute or two before we get into everything that you got to do.
Fine by me. Yeah, everything's going the way it's supposed to. Like I said, Paula, the big day for me is Friday, but I won't have those results for 7 to 10 days after. That's when they give you a really good gauge on the percentage of the new cells. But my platelets are back to normal. My hemoglobin keeps going up. My white blood cell count keeps going up. There were shots that I was on for, I don't know, about a week post-transplant until I got to a certain number with my absolute neutrophilic count. I'm not on those shots anymore. Your counts drop after they take you off of the shots, but I'm still avoiding the shots, which means everything's going in the right direction. In fact, my white blood cell count was as high yesterday as it's ever been, or since this whole process has started, I should say.
I may get a knock on the door near the end of the show. If I get up and leave, don't be alarmed.
Have a good day. Something's wrong with my air conditioning. I've had it set at 69 the whole show, and the temperature in the room's gone up a half a degree.
Yeah. That's problematic now that the weather's turned.
Yes. I could be just running this thing incorrectly, but you never know.
Can somebody come out to the room?
Oh yeah, I'll go downstairs right after. They'll take care of it. They do. This is quite a facility. It really is. I mean, this would have set us back some serious money if we didn't have this. This has been a godsend, especially with my wife having to take a leave of absence from her job. David, I know you use X a lot just finding trades. Is there another go-to you have for NFL transactions?
No. I mean, I do NFL.com. I do, various websites, but no, I get my NFL
Spot Rack's
news.
got a pretty good.
They do. I get no, it's from like Pelissaro and Schefter.
Right. I got you. Just curious if you had something because I found that this Spot Rack transaction page is really good, but they don't have the Minky yet either.
Welcome to the bonus hour, brought to you by Jason and Todd at the Diamond District. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
22 minutes till we're out of here. Big day in the NFL. Teams can legally talk with free agents without any tampering. We all know this has been going on for a while. It's also considered like last chance to get players signed, or else you're probably going to lose them in free agency. The new football year begins Wednesday at 4 p.m. Mark, there's a lot of bookkeeping going on.
There sure is. Why don't you update us on what's happening?
Well, if you missed it earlier, the Dolphins announced that they're releasing Tua effective June 1st. They're going to take the $99.2 million cap hit and split it up between this year and next. A bigger portion of it will be this year than will be next. But Mark, in the last, really 10 minutes, there's been a trade between the Dolphins and the Jets. Minkah Fitzpatrick goes to the Jets in exchange for a 7th-round pick. So they basically just gave him away. Here, take him. We want to unload the salary. The Jets then are going to sign Minkah to a 3-year, $40 million deal. But then also what just happened, I guess the deal's not official, but it will be in a matter of minutes. Green Bay is sending another defensive tackle to the Cowboys. Rashawn Gary is going to go from Green Bay to Dallas. And all Green Bay is going to get back is a late-round draft pick next year, not even this year. So Minkah Fitzpatrick to the Jets for a song, Rashawn Gary to the Cowboys for a song. So
By the way, the re-signing of Minkah, 3 for $40.
Yep.
Really?
Well, I'm guessing first 2 years are guaranteed.
I gotcha. I just don't know how good he is anymore, David.
I think he's still a good player.
Okay.
I feel comfortable in saying that he's a good player. I'm not sure that he's a very good player anymore. Not sure that he's, I don't think he's Pro Bowl caliber safety unless a whole bunch of guys don't want to play in the game. But I think he's on a very young team, Mark. He's a veteran who knows what he's doing, and he's a pro. And the Jets have a problem. They don't have enough pros. And I don't just mean in terms of ability. The Jets have a culture and a locker room problem, and Minkah is not that.
So that's Aaron Glenn, in your estimation, saying I need an on the field, in the locker room coach that's not me. I can only say so much. There's got to be someone that leads by example, says the right things, does the right things.
They've traded away or let leave via free agency their 4 best defensive players in a little over a year. Okay, they need to establish some pros. Again, they need to become a decent organization. I look at where the Jets are right now as where Dan Campbell inherited the Lions. And what did Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell bring to Detroit? And it took a year and a half for it to change on the field. Okay, but they brought professionalism to the Lions. The Lions stopped being a joke. Players played the right way, behaved the right way. The Lions stopped being a joke. The Jets are a punchline. It needs to stop. But Tua's going to get cut June 1st, split up his $99.2 million cap hit over this year and next, more of it this year than next. It'll probably be like 58 this year, 41 next, something around that. And Minkah traded away for a song, and Rashawn Gary traded to Dallas for a song.
It's that time again, nearing the end, but not quite there yet. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
We go on the Wayback Machine, and then we get pretty close to home pretty quickly. It was today in 1897 that Cleveland Spider fans started calling their team the Indians. It would not become official until 1915. So 18 years after the team got a new nickname, they started actually being called by that nickname. Doesn't give me a lot of hope for the Cincinnati Cougars. 2 things in 74. The first basketball, the second one more for Moulton. The basketball one. It was the ACC tournament final. Maybe 2 of the best teams in the country. NC State beats Maryland 103-100 in overtime. That's without a 3-point shot. 103-100 in overtime. And remember, in 74, only NC State then goes to the tournament.
They were the top 2 teams in the country. You look at who was on the 74 Maryland team that lost: John Lucas, Len Elmore, one of the McMillan brothers. A truly great team. But David Thompson and the boys took care of Maryland in the ACC final and then beat Wooden and UCLA on their way to the Natty.
The other one in 74, David, I don't know if you're aware of this, but this is a great little factoid. Today in 1974, the last Japanese soldier, a guerrilla operating in the Philippines, surrenders 29 years after World War II ended. Bowie Kuhn today, the commissioner of baseball in 1979, orders baseball to give equal access to female reporters. Locally, David, the Florida Everblades did it in the early 2000s. 1981, Dan Rather becomes the primary anchor of the CBS Evening News. Gilbert Perreault of the Sabres becomes the 12th NHLer to score 500 career goals today in 86. The fate of this band forever changed today in 87 because U2 released the Joshua Tree. 1995, baseball awards a franchise to the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. George Burns died today in 1996, just weeks after celebrating his 100th birthday. Biggie Smalls gunned down in LA today in 97. Dr. Dre's Aftermath Entertainment signs an unknown rapper today in 1998, Eminem. Amerigo Vespucci, Bobby Fischer, and the great Mike Leach would have all celebrated birthdays today. You know, Leach would have been great at the president's meeting on Friday. He'd have never gotten invited, but man, would he have been great at that. Bert Campaneris is 84, golfer Andy North 76, the Boz, Brian Bosworth 61, and Clint Dempsey. Where would he rank as the all-time, U.S. soccer players? He's 43. Dempsey'd be up there, wouldn't he? Top 3?
Certainly top 5, yeah. Certainly.
Did I miss anything, David?
Did you have Barbie?
I did not have Barbie. I missed Barbie.
Today, 67 years ago, the first Barbie doll is displayed at the American Toy Fair in New York City. All right. And then obviously she would be mass produced. And but the Barbie doll made its debut today in 59.
Time to see life a little bit differently. Here's Mark Miller with the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
So a few years ago, a guy wins $1 million on a lottery ticket in Ohio. Apparently it, just wasn't enough for the wife because she kept playing the lottery and she won a $5 million scratch-off prize last week. 2. How many of you won, David?
None, Mark. Thanks, Mark, for bringing it up.
I don't
really appreciate it.
No problem. For the bad, we go to I-75 in Lee County, where a woman was blinded by an aggressive driver who forced her off the road and pepper sprayed her before speeding away. It was at the Corkscrew entrance ramp during rush hour. The driver of an F-Ford 150 became aggressive. She accused him of forcing her car onto the right shoulder. That's when he got out, came to her car. Why she rolled the window down is beyond me, and sprayed her with pepper spray. FHP spotted the truck later in the Naples area. They noted they could still smell the lingering effects of pepper spray. Initially, the man denied any involvement, but then confessed. What the hell? And finally, the ugly. We go to the Gulf of Mexico, where a boat was on fire. Cito responded to the fire. The captain of the boat that was on fire pulled a gun on the Cito captain, then threw the Cito captain off of his own boat. He was rescued from the water. FWC was able to find the man and take him into custody. That is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, March the 9th, and it's brought to you by the Cape Coral Police Department. Hiring new officers, offering great pay, signing bonuses, overtime opportunities, and other jobs available. For all information, go to capecops.com. That's capecops.com.
We're not just talking signing bonuses. We're talking like 10 grand. Okay? I mean, if you have any type of experience, right out of the chute, you could be making $100,000. I mean, that's the kind of pay we're talking about here. Just saying. You know, this ain't no $42,000 a year gig. You know, this ain't like Miller and Moulton, okay? I mean, real money. You're right. Not a big sports night in, you know, the main leagues. 5 games in the NBA. The Peacock double dip at 7:30 and 10 o'clock, which is also on the new NBC Sports Network. I am intrigued by the first game, Denver at OKC, because the last time they played, the dirty guy on Oklahoma City.
Yeah, that guard there that tripped Jokic.
And Jokic looked like a madman when he got up. So I'm just curious if the big fella brings it tonight. 7:30, Denver OKC. The Clippers can get to 500 with a win tonight against the Knicks. Considering the Knicks mailed one in against the Lakers yesterday, I hope they actually show up tonight. 5 games in the NHL. Mark, you mentioned it. Not really a marquee matchup. I mean, 4 o'clock today, LA Kings and Columbus. Both teams are out of the playoffs, but both teams are within like 3 points of a spot. So it's a key game. It's a makeup from a game that got snowed out 6 weeks ago. That's why it's being played at 4 o'clock on a Monday. But otherwise, not much else going on. All right. 2 bids up for grabs tonight. Georgia Southern trying to win their 6th game in 6 days in the Sun Belt Final against Troy, who's won 1 game in the tournament. 1. I love this. I love everything about this. All right. It's 7 o'clock tonight on ESPN2. Then the SoCon Final. Furman, East Tennessee State. All right. That's also going on tonight. So there you have it.
All right.
WBC, 8 o'clock, Big Fox, Mexico and Team USA. Skeens pitching for the red, white, and blue. That's it.
It's probably the best sporting event on tonight. I mean, you got your 2 small conference games, the West Coast Conference semifinal, Santa Clara and St. Mary's. That's the late game if you're up all night. But you're right. I mean, if you're looking for the best event, it's USA Mexico in the World Baseball Classic. Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for starting your week off with us. We'll do it all over again tomorrow, 6 a.m. Miller and Moulton, millerandmoulton.com.
Do you have a sleep problem but don't want to wear a CPAP mask? This is Mark Miller for Sleep Treatment Direct. The mask wasn't working for me, and I didn't think I had an alternative. I do. We all do. They have such simple alternatives with